Heroes is important because of the safe environment and visibility it provides to the marginalized groups competing within the Overwatch community.
Why is it so important? Well, they need a voice. They need a presence. And they need our support.
Calling all heroes is our chance to kind of change that narrative and to prove that if we give the talent that is there a place to practice and a place to cultivate, it will inevitably rise.
What we have to do is to play a bit closer to it, but the Genji getting shut down!
SK with a big pick on the bun though, opens the door wide.
What and Bone, the 2 DPS again, making the numbers count, making their ultimates work.
Another sustain tool being used in the sound barrier as well for the NYXL Academy. Everything's being thrown into this fight.
This Zen is absolutely monstrous.
"16 teams have been narrowed down to just 4 in the semifinals of Day 2 of the Loadscreen Recall, calling all heroes first minor. I am Epitomes, and I am here with Chef Billy to bring you all the coverage for this last day of playoffs.
Yep, and we are excited to be here once again for this gender-inclusive tournament, and getting in the underrepresented members of our community. Everybody's a hero, and we need a lot more of us here, and that's what this whole initiative is about: is making a safe space for everybody to be part of this wonderful game that we all have come to love over the past 6 years. And well, I mean, this is one of the proudest moments of my life. We had a fun time yesterday. Now we're down to the business end of the tournament here. We've got we got one semifinal and a grand final. The other semifinal will take place off screen. But let's take a look at how we got here. This is a look at our bracket, and well, you will see right here, we've got NYXL Academy and Timeless Ether. Yesterday, that 5-map thriller that we had here on the stream, last match of the day, they got through 3-2, and Rift Guardians, Dart Monkeys is going to be our matchup here on the stream today. And Rift Guardians completely undefeated. I mean, they've only lost 3 maps through the entirety of their run here through the minors tournament. So, I mean, for Dart Monkeys, they've got a real tall order ahead of them. But Epitomes, I mean, this is going to be, I think this is going to come down to nerves. I think it's going to come down to who's got the better resolve and how much, team synergy has been built here for these two teams.
Yeah, and I mean, Dart Monkeys definitely had a really tough matchup yesterday against Vancouver Titans Blue to make it here, and Rift Guardians, they went up against Whiplash, which we saw in that very first streamed match yesterday, and they had to go absolutely crazy. It was a reverse sweep from Rift Guardians, and looking at their roster here, this is who's going to be playing. Some familiar names, I'm sure, isn't there, Billy?
I mean, yeah, just out the gate, Shesty and H-Key are two very prominent names here. Then Aramori is one of my favorite supports in North America. Really have loved what she has brought to the scene. Has a dang good Ana, but we'll see how they are going to weather today, because they did have a scare yesterday. I mean, yesterday was we were on upset alert across a lot of the matches, and as we now take a look at the Dart Monkeys, we'll see one of my favorite flex supports here in all of NA, and that is Aspen and SK, both in the support role there. This is going to come down to some serious support battles, I have to say. Barcode is one of my personal favorite DPSs here, especially in this tournament. And Zemrit, I have covered them for quite a bit of time. And she has been part of the Path to Pro system, in contenders and trials and such like that. So we're going to see. This is going to be a clash of the Titans here, if I'm being completely honest. Dart Monkeys looking to play spoiler here. Now we're going to take a look at our maps. It is a 1st to 3 here, and we're going to start out on Oasis. And I like this pick over Legion Garden because you have got a very definitive brawl map. And then Gardens and City Center, you can play a lot more mobile, and you can play a lot more intelligently. I don't think that you have to necessarily throw yourself at the other team like you do on University.
Yeah, and I definitely do agree with you here. And obviously, I am very excited to be seeing Dart Monkeys. I saw a lot of SK back when she wasn't playing Overwatch and was in another unnamed FPS title. But she also was heading Dart Monkeys, and I am really excited to see what she has built over here on in Overwatch 2, because Overwatch 2, Dart Monkeys has already made a name for themselves. They've placed top 3 in a lot of these previous Calling All Heroes tournaments, so I think that they are definitely a team to beat. But Rift Guardians, they have such a flawless record in Calling All Heroes so far in this minor, and they are actually 8-0 on their wins in the entire tournament.
I mean, this is going to be, where the rubber meets the road. I mean, somebody's got to go home here. I think that we're in store for a 5-map thriller like we had yesterday. I think there's not much between these two teams. I think Barcode is going to be somebody that we look for from Dart Monkeys to get the initiation and then watch the follow-up on behind that. Eevee is a very dynamic tank. On the other side, Cat. Looking like we might get this Junker Queen look, and you're going to look for Shesty here on the Ashe to get up on that high ground and start spraying down with the Viper.
And for that support duo that you were talking about, it's still just the Lucio-Kiriko combo, because they really want to get up close and personal, make sure that these dives aren't successful, especially with Eevee here on the tank. But for now, they're fighting just across the side of the map. Taking control of the high ground, though, it's that Winston, exactly what we expect here with this such a dynamic tank in terms of being able to take control of the high ground. No picks to be found either way. Drops the bubble. Eevee falls really low, though, and instead just retreats to the point. Dart Monkeys first to touch, but heavily contested thus far. Just playing ring around the rosy and trying to find some sort of damage, some sort of pick. Chisato looking for a pick, but still, it's just high ground, dancing up and down. Nobody can take control.
I mean, it's the engagement and it's the disengagement. But you see, there's the first pick coming out from Chisato, and there's a dash reset coming through from them as well. That'll get them the first point, and lots of extra ult charge going over to them. Looking at the difference between SK and Aramori, absolutely even in the Kitsune Rush generation. Of course, Aramori will go a little bit ahead here just because they are out of spawn. But, I mean, Eevee right now, I think that you've got to watch SK being able to go in with these dives and keep the healing Afuda on the Winston, because the engages right now have been way too clean. Chisato is just having a field day.
Barcode is looking to try and counter this Chisato, though, and get that damage down as well. But Chisato is pretty much unchecked over here on the point, while Dart Monkey is looking for the dive now, dropping the bubble down low, but Eevee has to retreat, and SK does find the pick on to Shesty, though. So they are missing this DPS as both Kitsune rushes go out, trying to dive onto one another, and the EMP now activated sound barrier from Jano to try and contest. Make sure that this Dragonblade can't find anything, as Aspen just counters with the sound barrier of her own. SK once again with another pick, the Kiriko being the one to secure these eliminations, and the Rampage is going to attempt to hold on to this point. SK another pick onto Shesty, but Shesty with the Sojourn, not before she's able to pick one out of their own. The Primal Rage has to come out. Dart Monkey still fighting such a prolonged engagement, but nothing to be found on either side, and Rift Guardians, the timer is still ticking for them. They're still able to get that percentage up, but finally, with the help of the Primal Rage and almost every single ultimate invested from both sides, Dart Monkeys come out on top.
From the time that we saw Dart Monkeys get the advantage in that fight, Rift Guardians get an extra 40% of capture percentage. So, I mean, looking for Dart Monkeys right now. Zemrit, Pulse Bomb is going to be coming up here very shortly, and with Chisato going over to their own answering Tracer, backlines are going to be pretty vulnerable.
Once again, Eevee's always trying to round these corners and look for the early engagement so they can follow up with the Lucio, but Barcode falling early means that Rift Guardians have that second of an opening where they don't have to worry about these hacks and can put so much damage onto the tank. Eevee forced to retreat once again, playing around the middle of this map, but there's the bleeds that come through from Cat that's just allowing Eevee to be taken down, and Chisato switching onto the Tracer instead of the Genji. Now the Pulse Bomb, much more reliable ultimate and already charged up despite the switch. Now Shesti looking to be the next person that will have an ultimate on board with the overclock.
I mean, Barcode right now is just not getting enough work done on the Sombra. I mean, the manual hacks are coming through, but there's a concerted rest coming out from Dark Monkey. They're looking for a stick, big stick, but bigger Suzu coming from SK.
That was a huge ultimate, or a Suzu from Escape, but there's the Rampage to come through, and the Sound Barrier immediately counteracts, and Escape was the only person who really got hit by the anti. They're able to find a lot of value out of the overclock now, though. Shusty's just going crazy with the right clicks, with the railgun, looking for the picks, and they do find them. The overtime is activated, and Barcode is looking to stall, still contesting on the point, running around the middle of the map, making sure that there isn't a sight line. But after that player is taken down, there's no choice. Rift Guardians, they take first map.
I mean, the difference between Junker Queen and Winston right there, you see right there the engagement that Rift Guardians were taking. They were going into Eevee. They were going hard. They weren't taking any questions or comments, Tala. That was what, I mean, they just wanted to get on top of Eevee and really put the backline under duress, and that's what happened time and time again. We need to see a little bit more coming out from Barcode here, especially on the Sombra. If we're going to keep running that, the hacks have to be follow up upon. The dive potential has to be there. If Eevee is going to keep running with this Winston, I think that you've got to coordinate these dives a whole heck of a lot better to make sure that you take that hack target down and then move on from there.
And speaking of the Winston as well, momentarily did see a Reaper come from Chisato, and there were Reapers in the games yesterday, so they might also be looking for some more of that front-loaded damage if Eevee does become a problem eventually. But right now, Dart Monkeys, they're sticking with the composition as that they know. Already the dive comes in from Eevee, Bubble goes down, but the Junker Queen is just right up in the face, not allowing the space to be taken, especially with the bleed applied, and needs to go back and retreat for the heals once again. It's Rift Guardians that are going to take the first capture of the point on Oasis, but Dart Monkeys, they are able to contest just for a second, but the little delay is not enough to flip the point.
Not really, and I mean, we're looking for Zemmer right now to close in on this and make the rotation around the pillar here, and there's a big manual hack. That should be a kill confirmed, but they get away!
And Shesti is able to take down Barcode as well, so no more of that hack for the rest of this fight. Have to wait for the Sombra to come back in, while Dart Monkeys, they're just swinging on the backside of the map, using the bubble to retreat. And Aspen, they're able to get some with SK on the side as well. The two supports are able to make a bit of room for Dart Monkeys and get themselves onto the point. An objective now secured for Dart Monkeys, only 33% ticked off for Rift Guardians. Now, Dart Monkeys have a little bit of the better odds than they had in that last round.
Absolutely, and I think that the focus fire now coming through true here for Dart Monkeys. Maybe the early game jitters are out of the basket. We're looking right now at an early Kitsune Rush and Sound Barrier ready to go for Dart Monkeys. So lots of staying power here on the point. But Chisato, with their own Pulse Bomb, may force out Suzu and look for a follow up on the back of that.
Seems like Zembra is trying to find something off the side of it, but the team repositions, and all of a sudden it is just front to back once again. Eevee gets down real low, but not the elimination confirmed. However, Kitsune Rush from Escape is going to make it a lot easier for Dart Monkeys to spam away, but the Kitsune Rush has been reached by Aramori and is immediately countered. Now 2 more ultimates invested with the Rampage and Sound Barriers on both sides. Primal Rage is still going, but as it runs out, there's still nothing found for Dart Monkeys except for that kill onto SK. Now missing that bit of burst healing that Kiriko offered, as well as the invulnerability from the Suzu. Dart Monkeys decides to retreat, and Rift Guardians flip point.
Well, I mean, that's a smart disengage coming from them. I mean, once you lose your Winston in that composition, you've got to back out. They got as much as they could, but now they're going to have the EMP engage, and now that they don't have to worry about that Rampage, it's going to be free kills as long as the focus fire once again is there.
Chisato trying to find some, but Barcode and Zemrit, the DPS duo, now are confirming the dive along with Eevee at the side to find the supports. Cat goes down as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic turn for them. They give up a little bit of progress there. And the big thing is that Barcode takes down Shesty without the EMP, just a manual hack and just a one clipper from them. That's a beautiful focus fire there. Realizing the target, now the overclock is available, so they do have an entry point, and Chisato over to the Reaper, so now Eevee's gonna have to be really cognizant of where they're at.
Ooh, but the EMP does come through. Eevee does get a bit of damage off the back of it, but other than that, they're still looking a little bit shaky. Dart Monkeys are dancing around the point once again, and SK is just going head-to-head with Tursky. There's the overclock to try and confirm the kill onto SK, and finally they take down the Kiriko. Pulse Bomb misses from Zemrit and is heavily punished for it. Railgun confirms the kill onto Zemrit. Now, once again, flipping the point. This round is just neck and neck from both these teams.
I mean, you've got the sound barrier advantage right now for Dart Monkeys. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be able to engage on that. You can let it go to about 90, 95% and get in there. I think the manual hack has to go on Chisato first to make sure that Eevee has a staying power on the board.
Here's the Reaper just in action, being able to force back the Winston so heavily, but now the high ground, and without the teleport available, it's a lot harder to be able to track this monkey around the map. Now there's the sound barrier and the Kitsune Rush, both from Rift Guardians to try and force the fight into their direction, but the sound barrier counters from Aspen, and the Kitsune Rush unfortunately nowhere close for SK, but the Primal Rage is, and the Primal Rage now popped means that they can make a lot of space on the objective and kind of force these players back, but Chisato is still trying to fight, and the Death Blossom is now available. The Rampage going through, and the Death Blossom trying to confirm the rest, but it's still Dart Monkeys coming out, finding the value, and they're contesting. It's all left up to Cat as the rest of the team tries to regroup, but overtime is now confirmed, and Dart Monkeys able to flip point. Looking to be another overtime here.
Yep, I mean, we got Pulse Bomb ready to go here from Zemrit. You're about 20% off from the Sombra EMP here. So, I mean, lots of staying power here for them. I want to see them go really aggressive into this and take the kills as they come through.
Ooh. Shesty can't do anything on the Tracer so far, though, and the EMP once again charged as well for Barcode. There's Zemrit with a Pulse Bomb looking to confirm the kill onto Chisato, and just can't get away from all the damage. Rift Guardians, they're going to give this one up, and Dart Monkeys make the map score round 1-1.
Yep, I mean, that's a fantastic turnaround from Dart Monkeys. They really did understand their win conditions and when to disengage. You know, we were talking with Cal yesterday, and they said, you know, the ability to kite away from damage and knowing when a fight is done and really counting your losses and, you know, keeping yourself in the bigger fight. Something that we saw very well on display there from Dart Monkeys. So we're going to head now to University. And I think that this is probably going to favor Rift Guardians, especially if Cat is going to come out on this Ramatra. We're going to see the Ramatra v Ramatra matchup. We're going to see mirror compositions from both sides. So it's going to be a race to the Amp Matrix first. And then second, after that, it's going to be a race to the Annihilation.
Already taking control of high ground. Rift Guardians trying to put a lot of emphasis here, but Barcode on the Hanzo immediately headshotting Chisato. So that may already out, and this is the map you mentioned that has a lot more of that brawl style here on University. Already though, the ultimate's getting charged. We see that Barcode has gotten a lot, but Chesty just gonna counter with the Hanzo of her own and able to take down
Chesty.
2. Oh my god, Mei and Hanzo are both now out of the fight and have to try and regroup with the rest of the squad, which just enables Rift Guardians to go absolutely insane. Eevee, stand in the corner, power blocking and Nemesis. You know, maybe it would have worked out in another universe. Can't see them, they can't see me, but not this one.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, just the turn there from Shesty, turning the fight on its head. I mean, the opening pick that came from Barcode onto Chisato really should have put it in their favor. And now Chisato's going to wait for them to approach the point and throw that wall out and block off AV from any kind of point on this point.
Void Barrier trying to block the damage, but ooh, Chisato gets shredded. But Aspen, on the other hand, Shesty is doing so much work on the Hanzo, being able to spam down, and in these small spaces, Ramatra just reigns supreme in the Nemesis form, going to just throw all the punches out. Dart Monkeys forced back into spawn, and Rift Guardians are still looking for more. Aramori on the Baptiste, really lending to this bursty brawl playstyle in terms of the healing.
I mean, Cat, 40% ahead of Evie.
Yeah.
And that's the big kicker right now, is how much work that Cat's getting done in that Nemesis form. Now they're going to go for a high ground rotation. I like the split, but they need to get the Dragon Strike on at least. That's a huge pick coming out from Barco, though.
Neutralizing the Dragon Strike in this fight, Cat is going to go ahead and force the Annihilation through. The Dragon Strike does come in from Dart Monkeys and is doing fighting a number onto Cat, but they still have so much to deal with now with the Blizzard coming through. But so much damage from Dart Monkeys, even without their own ultimate to counteract. And it is just insane how they were able to dance around the wall, get away from the freezing of the Blizzard, and win that fight to turn point.
Almost turned that fight around, though. Rift Guardians almost held on to the point when Cat popped that Annihilation. Just a couple seconds, up like extra tendril.
Yeah, that was really incredibly scary. 80% of the Dragon Strike is going through Guardians. But
I think our feed had a little bit of a hiccup.
yeah.
There. So we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty here, but I mean, Dart Monkey's holding on to the point. They've got released the Blizzard here, and now they're crossing the 50% mark. They've got a whole host of ultimates. That's a big animation coming through, though.
Oh, the Annihilation from Dart Monkeys, but they're trying to counteract. There's the Matrix. They want to get the damage through the amp, but it's Dart Monkeys that actually find the elimination. Barcode on the Hanzo looking to be just as valuable as Shesty was in that very first half of the round, and once again, Dart Monkeys hanging on to their point. However, they invested so much into that fight, and they only have that one amp Matrix that's going to be coming up. Unless Barcode can build up this ultimate very quickly with some quick headshots, Dart Monkeys, they're looking to be in a very uncertain position with the Annihilation coming in hot.
I mean, that's going to have to be the focus fire right now, and this amp matrix is going to be huge. They're going to have everybody in the line of sight to be able to use it to the best advantage.
The Annihilation from Cat, just as we called it, coming through. The Immortality field, though, trying to keep Zembra alive, but Chisato's still able to finish off the elimination. And Dart Monkeys, they know when to disengage. They have to regroup for the next fight. But Barcode goes down a little bit late. So now that Hanzo, once again, the timing is definitely going to be a little bit risky here, especially Rift Guardians now surging forward, trying to make sure they're able to push the spawn of Dart Monkeys, so they're just going to channel through on the right side. They need to touch, and they need to touch now, but it's not there. Rift Guardians, the May wall, it's so huge, and they're able to take map 1.
Oh man, that's sad. I hate that May wall there on University, because there's nothing you can do. There's nothing that you can do against it, especially when you're just trying to rush the point. They just throw up the beautiful wall. I mean, Barcode here absolutely went ham. Had a fantastic map. Really did match Shesty blow for blow. So, I mean, here in the first map, I mean, it's going to go, I think this is the way it's going to be all evening long here in our semifinal, Tala, because, I mean, there's not much between these two teams. They are out for blood. They are out to prove that they are the best, and they want to take this minor win. I mean, they're going to be one step closer should they win this, but man, back and forth. I don't, there's, like I said, it's a scale balance right now for me, trying to decide who's going to win this out. I think tank-wise, I think that Cat might be just a little bit better than Eevee, but I think that the DPS completely even, and the healing resources coming from Dart Monkeys, I'm going to give Dart Monkeys that advantage. So, I mean, throw it up in the air, Tala. I don't know how this is going to go down, but I mean, I'm here for it. I'm living for it. I'm ready for it. Let's get it on.
Yeah, I mean, this last map, it was just so close, so down to the wire. And speaking of the history between these two teams, Dart Monkeys, they did play against Rift Guardians in the Swiss rounds before the seeding for playoffs, and they actually went 2-0 against Dart Monkeys. So I would honestly call that a little bit of an upset, because Rift Guardians as a team, they don't really have a name for themselves like Dart Monkeys do, but they were still able to so decisively win in the Swiss stages.
Yep, and you know, I mean, this is going to come down to, I think, a pick here or there. And you know, you saw the late pick that came on Barcode there, kind of a staggered kill, trying to disengage. I think that's part of the reason why it was so hard for them to get back. But we'll look and see what happens when we go to our hybrid map. It looks like we're going to go. Well, we're going to go to King's Row for our next map. So the friendly confines of London, England will be our next map type here. And make sure, everybody, that you have gone to the loadscreen.gg Twitter page and follow the directions there, because we are giving away some swag tonight. Myself and all the talent are wearing the brand new HS80 Corsair wired headphones. And I mean, these babies, these work very, very nicely. I'm very, very thankful for Corsair for sending us out some of their merch. And I tell you what, you have a chance to win not only this headset, but also the HS60 wireless headset, as well as a host of other items being provided by Corsair. And you'll see me munching on some stuff tonight. We've got some one-shot energy chews from One-Shot Energy, one of our other sponsors here for the Calling All Heroes initiative. And I tell you what, 75 milligrams of caffeine per chew. I will not consume a whole ton of them, because you need to be able to hear what I'm saying. And if I get too much caffeine, it's going to sound like a woodpecker. I swear to God, it's just going to be.
Oh, woodpecker.
It's just going to be too dang fast, and I don't want to make everybody's ears bleed tonight.
Yeah, we're just gonna have a little bit Billy on on the cast tonight. But I mean, headed over to the next map, King's Row. I have to admit, I love King's Row. But also, King's Row, once again, it's one of those maps that it's like, oh, the Widowmakers, oh, the Hanzos. And you just have to watch every single sight line with such scrutiny, and it really changes up the way that you play when you are playing against those Widows, those Hanzos. And, I mean, it's definitely going to be tough, but I am definitely going to enjoy watching it.
Well, right now, I mean, it just depends on what school of thought you're looking at. I mean,
yeah.
Ramatra right now is reigning supreme here in the Brawl map. You know, good on all 3 points. It'll depend on what, you know, comfort I think here for both teams. You could always, you know, do the initial look out the spawn, see if you can get an early pick with Widowmaker. But Hanzo has a lot more utility here, especially offensively, providing the vision. And then defensively, we see a lot of Ashe come through here. So we will see, you know, if they decide to run with that. It'll be Dart Monkeys on the defense. And we'll see what kind of a lineup they have coming out here. Looks like we're going to have Zemrit maybe pulling the Echo out. I don't hate that. Not a typical pick here. Yeah, this is much more of what I would expect coming through.
Yeah, I mean, we have Chisato once again trying to make that Genji work, and it did actually work very well on that first map of the Oasis, where they were just initially able to find a lot of value that gave them that point really early and allowed them to build up a lot of progress. Now, Shesti on the Hanzo, looking for the picks over through, already pushed through that first choke point, and now just spamming down the maze. Zemrit almost went down for that, but is able to just huddle up and just regain some of that health. Immortality field, however, on both sides, the cooldowns have already been expended. SK got aggressive on Trisky, but with a Storm Arrow, was able to just neutralize Lucio, and that opens so much up for Rift Guardians to just go ahead and spam away at this tank, losing a little bit of that sustain. And Dart Monkeys, they decide that they're going to go for a disengage, or at least try to back off a little bit more.
I mean, the wall got them out, and what a smart wall coming from Zemrit there. And Zemrit with the icicle to the head, there takes Chisato out, so you're at a +1. Early Amp Matrix out.
Ooh, the Amp Matrix from Aspen is so early, and there's a little bit of that line of sight onto Cat. Once again, that staggered Ramatra, meaning they're missing so much of that Space Maker from this Brawl tank.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what, I mean, SK got very aggressive there. I thought they were actually going to be picked out, but actually cut out with their lives. I mean, you see it on stream all the time. Now we can see it in person. What a pick! Oh, the Sonic arrow. That's disrespect on Chesty.
Damn, Barcode really did not let that last map go, especially with the Hanzo trying to go for the diff. The Amp Matrix is out, the line of sight just is not there, especially for Barcode, such a squishy target, able to spam for free over on the side, and the barrier from May is going to allow for a little bit of stall time, but Rift Guardians, they're countering with the Blizzard and the Annihilation. Now, Dart Monkey is a little bit later to the ultimates, but Eevee able to pop Annihilation, and SK by their side. Aspen spamming away with the guns, the burst fire, and a team kill for Dart Monkeys just to open up this map.
I mean, both sound barriers expended from both teams there. The big thing right now is that Dragon Strike is available to Chesty, so you can cordon off the point here, use that to get a lot of purchase on the point. But Zemret is ahead in the Blizzard battle. I think that's going to be the most impactful ultimate coming up here. There's the early Dragon Strike coming out.
It doesn't really find anything, but Cat is able to just push ahead in Nemesis form, and since they're just all corralled in this point, trying to avoid the Dragon Strike makes it so easy for Chisato to basically spam away with the Ice Gun, the Freeze Gun, and get a lot of value out of that. Now it's all 3 points just ticked off on the objective and allowing the payload to come out of the garage, pushing down the streets now.
SK over to the Zenyatta. I like this. A little bit more damage. The Discord Orb is going to play very well here in the streets, and then, of course, looking to build up the Transcendence, which will counteract the Blizzard. Good lord, Chesty and Barcode are having a very friendly duel here on the side, and I mean they've got control of the archway.
Yeah, they're just using the May wall to just try and push up through the choke as far as possible, but this is just one of the tightest corners in the entirety of this map. It's going to be very hard to force their way through, especially with the amount of area control that they have with the May at their side. Now the Dragon Strike from Dart Monkeys to once again delay, but Chesty, what was that? The Hanzo with 2, and Chisato follows up very nicely to just get them all out of the space. Rift Guardians, it's off the back of that Amp Matrix, right? Aramori did so much work getting a sight line onto all of Dart Monkey's players, and they're just all going to have to back off.
And I mean, the Amp Matrix helps build up most of the extra way there for Cat's Annihilation coming into this next fight. So,
yes,
SK needs to land a couple volleys from the Zenyatta. I mean, you do have the Blizzard going to be available to both sides, but the big kicker here, and you're going to see this from Chesty when they do set up this this Dragon Strike. It's not necessarily a killing ultimate; it's a space-taking ultimate.
Yeah, just really trying to force those players forward to avoid it, and immediately forcing the cooldown as well out of that May. Now behind the wall, they have the frozen Ramatra, so Eevee is going to be able to survive, but once again, trading the Maze 1-for-1. Jono with the sound barrier, trying to save from the Transcendence as well. SK on the other side, pretty similar ultimates in terms of that power to keep your team alive, but the Annihilation from Eevee is looking to be tough. The power block is able to absorb so much damage, and the Annihilation still just ticking away at the health bars. It's not enough. There's not enough follow-up from the rest of Dart Monkey's squad, and they can't confirm the eliminations. However, they're able to delay for just a little bit longer. Still a minute and a half left to push right very close to this last point, though. Rift Guardians, they're looking pretty comfortable.
Oh, that's a big pick. That's a big pick, and a good trade there from Chesty, though.
Yeah, once again, the Immortality field coming out to save the rest of these squishy characters, especially with Chisato now going down and the Dragon Strike to run through. Chesky still trying to zone, still trying to force them further towards the side, and it did work for the moment, but once again, the follow-up wasn't there. Chesky, with a jumping shot from the bow, is able to hit the headshot onto Zemret, though, and that just going to make Dart Monkeys a little bit more scared to round the corner.
Well, Barcode, not sure what that Dragon Strike was, but you'll build it up quick enough. The fact that we're looking at Chisato right now, going back over to the May and taking down that one pick potential there, that is going to be a massive undertaking here. Less than 20 seconds here to take this point. They are going to get into the Foundry with about, 18 seconds there. So yeah, add a minute 30 onto that. 145 to get through the rest of King's Row here. And ultimates looking pretty even here. Aspen just a little bit behind. They did put out that amplification matrix later. But now it's about high ground control. It's about Shesty versus Barcode. And, well, just took a body shot there from Shesty. Barcode needs to be very cognizant of where Shesty is and what kind of resources they have on top there with them.
Yeah, Rift Guardian's ultimate economy is just looking a little bit healthier as well. They're closer to the ultimate since Jono is building up that sound barrier so quickly. Shesty now having Barcode out of the fight and only a 40% ultimate as well. So it's going to make it so hard to get this Dragon Strike in. And SK, oh my god, walked right into Shesty's crosshair there. Shesty's going in absolutely insane, is on a tear, and now it just looks like this round is so dominant, especially this third point from Rift Guardians.
Blizzard and Annihilation ready to go here. Barcode over to their favorite Bastion. So, I mean, that shield's going to be very, very lame indeed.
Ooh. The Blizzard does come through. Both Maze just Turtle trying to avoid the damage. Both Blizzards now out, and the Annihilation from Eevee. Cat is eliminated, so no Annihilation to be popped by the offensive tank. And they're still trying to contest so hard, but it's just a few meters, a quarter of a meter to get themselves onto the end of this point. Aspen is able to confirm the kill onto Chisato, and Aramori is isolated. Power block to disengage from Eevee, and the rest of the squad is just able to back up around the corner, hold the choke. With only 10 seconds left over, Rift Guardians, it looks like they might have to surrender this one, but they are still running it all the way down to the point. Barcode has taken out the Bastion and is able to spam down from afar, even with the Annihilation, even with the Anemone Form. So much damage done to Cat, and Chisato on the Genji thinks that they might be able to do some damage here, but now the zoning ultimate, the artillery strike, there's no way that there's going to come a touch from Rift Guardians, and only 2 points, but it was close for that first round.
It really was, and I mean, great swaps there coming from Dart Monkeys in the end. They deny the full capture of King's Row. Chisato versus Zemrit has been a secondary DPS battle that has really been enthralling me here. The two Mays, and watching Chisato, you know, go back between the May and the Tracer when it was necessary, really shows the flexibility of Chisato. And I mean, I love what she is bringing to this right now. The tank battle, once again, Cat was really getting the better end of it over Eevee's, but I think that the support, once again, coming from Dart Monkeys, is just a little bit better than what we see out of Johnny and Aramori. So, I mean, it's a knife's edge right now, and Dart Monkeys need to get this. They need to get themselves square here in our semifinals. They've got 4 minutes on the clock to capture point A. I don't know. I don't know about this Sombra pick. If they do decide to go with this, what is the hack target? Is it going to be the May? Is it going to be Aramori to deny the immortality barrier to come out? Or, you know, do you hack the immortality barrier when they do deploy it? So, I mean, if they do decide to go with this, this is looking like a little bit different of a composition that a lot of teams are not running. It may catch them by surprise. Well, I say that, of course they debate me.
Yeah, I was looking at the Reinhardt too, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. I don't think they're gonna actually do that. And they didn't. They just switch over to the Ramattra. It's the same mirror composition that we saw. There was a little bit of diversity in the support picks for a second, but it's just going back to what they know. And right now, trying to ring around the rosy once again, playing around this circle and forcing the cooldown, the wall out of the May, but it still allows Rift Guardians a little bit more space. Now Immortality field out for Dart Monkeys, just giving them that extra survivability. What? They just traded each other so quickly. Shesty able to take down Barcode and forcing them to have that walk back from spawn, but Eevee making space on the Ramattra. This is a very quick capture from Dart Monkeys for that very first point. Already one tick going through, and Eevee is still just being that space maker, but now isolated in front of the wall, going to have to put down the Void Barrier, and still avoids getting their life eliminated though. So they will have the payload out here very quickly. 5 minutes to make their way through streets.
I mean, they're gonna have. I mean, they're like 2.5 minutes faster. So I mean, this has the potential to snowball very quickly. Chisato has to be smart with the wall here, and Chesty with the far back positioning around Bookstore, looking for that one pick potential, looking to set up the Sonic Arrow for the positioning, so that Chisato can get out a great wall and cordon off Eevee from the rest of the team.
Yeah, it was definitely looking very dicey for Eevee, but there's the wall once again. It's happened again. You have Eevee separated from the team. The Immortality Field is going to save and keep the team alive for a second, and Eevee goes ahead and forces that ultimate through, but in the midst of the blizzard, it is not enough. Eevee does fall, and the rest of the Dart Monkeys left without their tank, left without their shield, are going to have to round back around the corner instead of forcing their way through the payload, especially with that Amp Matrix to come through. They are incredibly squishy in the face of that ultimate.
Oh, they're not giving up here. They're going to go ahead and push forward. Eevee will be back, taxiing back by SK. Sound barrier for both teams here. The big problem is that Cat did not let loose with their Annihilation, so they're going to have that contest around the second quarter here. But you do have Zemrit with this Blizzard. This is going to be a big pick potential.
Ooh. The Dragon Strike to come through, both of the sound barriers now being popped, and the Blizzard as well from Dart Monkeys makes it so that Rift Guardians are going to have to back all the way up. That area control was just too oppressive, and Barcode being oppressive with the bow on the Hanzo as well. Chesty and Barcode is just fight of a century right now, and Dragon Strike in that fight made it so much easier for that Blizzard to find its mark. Now Rift Guardians having the long walk back from spawn, and already Dart Monkeys, you can see how far they push up every single time. They have control. They are not afraid to push even further and make it that much easier for them to capture.
I mean, Annihilation should come out here from Cat once the Dragon Strike is through. But there it is. They're going to pop it right now.
The Dragon Strike trying to corral, and Chesty, it's still once again the Storm Barrier that's going to take down Barcode. And Dart Monkeys, they are not afraid to disengage after this.
I mean, that's a great disengage. The fact that now you're going to have, the Dragon Strike advantage, you're going to have the Annihilation advantage as well. You're going to have to dislodge Chesty, though, here on the high ground, providing not only the one pick potential, but also the vision and the zoning that will come from behind that. Look at this rotation, though, coming around the backside. They don't know it's coming.
Oh my gosh, they're able to just come through. It's the wall once again to zone them off, make sure that they don't go through, but the Amp Matrix quickly destroys the barrier, and Dart Monkeys is looking for a very quick pick. Zemrit is able to find it onto Cat, missing the tank now, and the Annihilation with only squishy targets left over. It's just a quick cleanup and easy way to push the point on to point B.
I mean, smart usage there. Just the Amp Matrix to open up, give them the opening, and blast through the wall, and then confirming on the back of the Annihilation. Absolutely perfectly played. They've got 3 minutes, 30 seconds to get just about to the end of King's Row. We need to look for, once again, Barcode taking high ground here.
Oh. My goodness, this is just so chaotic around the corner. They're taking control of the choke, though. The void barriers from both Ramatras come through, and now the Nemesis form in the face of the Blizzard from Rift Guardians. But it's another Blizzard to come through from Zemrit to try and counter, and Zemrit's coming out just a little bit later, allows them to make the space around the corner, but Chisato with the pick onto Barcode means a player down on Dart Monkeys. It's just a little bit less of that firepower, especially with Barcode being able to spam from so far away. Chesty takes advantage of it. Zemrit's just not able to contest those long ranges, and they're going to back right up to the payload and make sure that it's pushing back into Dart Monkey's spawn.
I mean, we're looking at a ultimate battle here for Dart Monkeys. They're going to have both their support ultimates coming into this fight, but it's all about getting the space first off, and that's an early Dragon Strike coming through.
Ooh, Dart Monkeys, they are forced back just a little bit further, just a little bit more of that delay with Chesky's. But now Barcode is just going to counteract that. Jano, knowing that they can't get out of the way, the sound barrier has to come through. The Amp Matrix out from Aspen, but Dart Monkeys is nowhere close by to be able to use it. And now Cat is just completely zoned on. Eevee has been in front of the wall and just has to use that power block, but not able to confirm the elimination. It's actually Dart Monkeys now coming out on top. After Rift Guardians, they go a little bit too aggressive with that push. They had the reliance on that sound barrier, on the Dragon Strike, but it didn't do enough.
I mean, they invested both support ultimates there, so I mean, that really does confirm the fight for them. The big thing that I saw there from that last fight is that Zemrit actually surpassing Chisato was 20% down in Blizzard generation, now has it online.
Now the Blizzard, once again, that you just mentioned, being used in the corner, making sure that Chisato just cannot participate in the fight. And right after coming out of Iceberg, has the annihilation right inside of her face. SK, however, is the one that's finding the eliminations, just riding those walls, making sure that there's so much space made. And Dart Monkeys, they win map 2.
I mean, this was a support difference here. I mean, both the DPS lines doing everything they can. The tank play from Cat was great once again, but it came down to ultimate rotations, especially in the support role. And I think that's where we saw the big difference. Shesty had a hell of a map here, really lending their strength to their team. And I mean, I tell you what, Shesty just had one of the best Hanzo performances that I've seen in quite a while, getting so much value. And really just popping up where you didn't expect it. You saw the cordoning off, the sectioning of the teams with those Dragon Strikes really was impactful. But in the end, Dart Monkeys, once again, they smartly rotated their ultimates. They had the economy down pat. And that's why they take such a commanding win here on King's Row.
Yeah, Dart Monkeys, their attacking half especially, they're just so good at making that space, and they are not afraid to try and cordon off of these players just inside of the point. But the point was actually when they did find that space as well, after they won a fight, Eevee was always forcing a little bit further forward as well, making sure that they just have that little bit of extra firepower to deal with. They are more careful when they are making their way back to the objective, and then that gives Dart Monkeys just so much more wiggle room in the grand scheme of things. Those few extra seconds is what it takes to push them over the edge and give them that edge when it comes to the objective.
Yeah, and I mean, smart disengages too. I think that's another hallmark of what Dart Monkeys did so well here in King's Row, is that they were able to disengage. They had smart swaps of their own. I mean, we saw Chisato going back and forth between the Tracer and the Mei. Barcode coming out with the Bastion was the wrinkle that nobody expected, and got the maximum value there. So, I mean, you know, for these two teams, I mean, they're fighting for glory and honor, huzzah. And they're bringing it here in our minor semifinal. So, you know, we'll see what comes up next. It'll be Escort as our next map type. And, I mean, thoughts of where we might go. Dorado comes to mind first for me. I think Dorado is a fun first map to go to as far as the Escorts. We'll see. We'll see actually how they want to play this.
It looks like for our next map, we are actually going to Havana. So it's Dart Monkeys that are going to be starting over on the defense, while Rift Guardians are started on the attack. So it's going to be the same thing that we saw on that hybrid map where Dart Monkeys start trying to stall and Rift Guardians going on the offensive. But this time, instead of that first point, which I think is what cost Rift Guardians most of their time, they're immediately going for the escort. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that changes things up.
Well, it depends on if we go for a close hold. I mean, there are two different schools of thought here. As far as Havana, do you go for the close hold and try and burn as much time as you can and get thereby giving yourself, you know, at least 2 or 3 more fights there on point A? Or do you play back? Do you come out with the double sniper look? That also is very popular here. Sigma is a great tank here. A lot of teams do go to the Symmetra look. They also bring the Ramatra as well, and Junker Queen can play very well here as well. So really, it's going to come down to what kind of composition are we going to see coming out from Dart Monkeys first. I think that's where we will, you know, take our first peek. Defensively, for the Dart Monkeys, I think that, you know, they should be expecting a little bit of trickery coming out from the Rift Guardians. They don't take very kindly to losing maps, not having lost very maps on their way to the semifinals here. So we'll take a look. We'll take a look and see what they've got going on. But man, I mean, this is one of those matchups where I don't want anybody to lose because they're playing so well. I mean, it's smart, it's thoughtful, it's very planned out. I mean, you can tell the coordination between both the teams here. It's dancing on a razor's edge here, and I think that's a real testament to how good these two teams are. And I mean, it just shows how good this initiative is for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that Dart Monkeys is already doing better than they did in the Swiss stage. So, I mean, they went 2-0 against, or 0-2 against Rift Guardians in Swiss stage. So now already in the semifinals, they are doing much better. And they also have that extra map, since it is first to 3, to like kind of experiment a little bit or just lose a little bit of ground. And now Havana, like you talked about, is a little bit more of that diverse map. And Dart Monkeys, they love those dive compositions as well, with SK and Aspen being on the Kiriko and Lucio respectively. So it allows them to be able to play that if Rift Guardians do decide to go for those more long-range compositions, or if they go Brawl, then it's really a head-to-head. It can really swing either way when it comes to those closer range engagements.
Well, I mean, here is a map where, especially Havana, if you're going to run with the double sniper look, which it looks like Dart Monkeys are going to show here with the Sigma. So I don't mind this necessarily. I would like to see maybe the Ana come out here from Rift Guardians when they do bring out their composition. And I said, we might be seeing some trickery. We'll see if Rift Guardians bring something different out, because you've got a double sniper look. So you've got vision, you've got 2 one-shot potentials. A volley from SK can take somebody down in a hurry as well. Sigma versus Ramatra. I have not personally seen this matchup in higher level play, so we'll see actually how this works out for them.
Seems like for now, Dart Monkeys holding very, very passive all the way back around the corners. I think they're looking to take someone off guard, just like we just saw Barcode do against Chisato. What a pick to open things up. And now it's looking like they're just going to wait to regroup, but Ramatra's allowed to just kind of hang back and hide behind this payload. So now Barcode looking for a better angle, trying to round around and get a shot onto Cat here, and not allowing the tank to just hide behind this payload. Once again, not being contested by Dart Monkeys. They're playing the range game. They're trying to be far back, and Aspen is actually the one to confirm the kill with the help of the Discord Orb from SK, allowing a lot more damage to be taken by that Ramatra, especially outside of the Nemesis form. Basically just like a paper tank at that point. Now they're going to go ahead, push that payload a little bit further back. Zemret still yet to find value on the Widow, but nice shot onto Cat. Take down a little bit of that health, but is immediately healed back up. Really looking for the squishies now. Shesty taking a close range engagement as the Hanzo, trying to work their way through this little room and push around to that payload, collect it back into their hands, and also take control of the high ground.
SK got out very closely there, because the Sonic Arrow from Chesty actually caught them as you saw it going through. There's the reason why you play the Widowmaker here, is the fact is that you go in. And I mean, and there is a big rock coming through. SK does take them down. Trades are coming through, Tala.
This is just such a good back and forth from Dart Monkeys and Rift Guardians thus far, but the Transcendence, oh my god, it doesn't save Eevee. Eevee just taking too much damage too fast, and now even with the Gravitic Flux from Eevee ready, it cannot be used, and Rift Guardians, they're allowed to get their hands on this payload and just push it that much further forward. It's a long walk back from spawn for Dart Monkeys, especially with the champions that they have. It's SK, that hero, not too mobile on the Zenyatta, and the Widow, a little bit of mobility, but still going to be a tough one. The Gravitic Flux and the Dragon Strike could potentially save this, but it's looking like they might give this point away. As I say that, immediately Sound Barrier from Rift Guardians to react to the Dragon Strike, and the Gravitic Flux doesn't do anything. Eevee immediately just spammed down and taken out. Barcode as well will fall to Shesky, the resident Hanzo hero play.
Well, I think we're gonna see some swaps maybe come through. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Zemrit going over to a little bit more utility with the Ash. You'll have the Dynamite to be able to burn and force resources out of Rift Guardians. SK though on the Zenyatta, I mean, was getting value. The Discord Orb is doing its job. They just didn't have the connection that you were talking about from Zemrit on the Widowmaker. So now it's all about rotating here, getting the dislodgement of Rift Guardians off the high ground, and they're going into 2 DPS ultimates.
Yeah, with Shesky and Chisato of both having their ultimates ready, there's just so much zoning that can happen with both the Blizzard and Dragon Strike. And we also see the Annihilation is close to being activated as well. Barcode does have control of the top of these tubes right now, but it should be fairly easy to force her off of this high ground with the Dragon Strike, and now the Blizzard to come through. It does zone quite a bit away from the Amp Matrix, which was their goal. Make sure that they can't get spammed down through that amplification barrier, and instead just keep pushing this payload. However, now with Eevee on the Sigma looking for something new, but Cat on the Annihilation is able to just counter. Once again, Barcode is failing to find that value and is just unable to make the space that she needs to make, unlike Shesky, who has just been consistently landing these shots.
No contest there either. Kind of shocking there, but I think that they want to take a closer hold here. And Jono getting the elimination there on SK. That is a massive, massive pick. No Discord Orb to help chunk down these higher value targets. And I mean, you can see, you were right. Marco, she has just not been getting it done here with the Widow like we saw there on Kings Row.
And Eevee is really trying to mitigate all of this damage that is coming their way, but once again, with that Zenyatta is really about the target selection. Shesky, now once again, Barcode has been taken down. The elimination is just so consistent onto this Dart Monkey's Hanzo, and Eevee, even with the barriers and the Graphitic Flux Resi, the last Graphitic Flux was just such a spectacular meltdown when it came to the damage, but the bomb now coming through, that 6th player trying to spam down the damage. Eevee's able to find the elimination onto Cat and force Rift Guardians back. Chisato on the Genji, a little bit too far in, could not escape, and Chisato does fall. However, the Dragon Strike from Dart Monkeys, finally built up by Barcode, is able to zone a bit. Eevee eliminates the Immortality field to try and find the picks, but Rift Guardians, they just have the sustain. Now Shesky with a Dragon Strike of her own. Zemrit falls to it. What? And Aspen, both of them were contesting that payload, and there was nowhere for them to go.
I mean, that's a head scratcher. They were winning the fight. They don't secure the kills in the small room there, and Shesty just turns it around with a Dragon Strike and a headshot. This is scary work coming in. Cat over the Sigma of their own. They're going to have that advantage in their favor.
Yeah, the Transcendence from SK, this is just the only thing that they can really do at this point to just contest that point. Still, Dart Monkeys do have a player sitting on it, but Eevee has to dance around and make sure that there's no sight lines from Rift Guardians. The switch onto the Ramatra is good, but Rift Guardians have switched onto the Sigma. Now they're able to just get a lot of damage down, especially around these corners with Sigma's primary fire, and the Dragon Blade coming through. Shesty and Aramori are doing all the damage though, and Rift Guardians, with barely a contest and 1 minute and 30 seconds left over, take 1 round to 3 points.
I tell you what, once they got past that, the first corner on point A, there was really never a second engage that came from Dart Monkeys there. They just were on the back foot the entirety of this map, and I think that late picks coming through, staggers coming out. I mean, Barcode was getting caught out time and time again. Shesty really has ramped up the accuracy here in Havana that was lacking a little bit there in Kings Row. I tell you what, Rift Guardians really, ratcheting up the pressure here. Now, they were missing out on a lot of healing too. SK playing the Zenyatta. They did not have the same value that Jono and Aramori are having in their support line. So here, You know, in Havana, Rift Guardians have the support advantage, and yeah, we're going to see SK go over to the Lucio here. So,
What are
I mean,
they doing?
we're gonna have mirror comps here. I mean, they're going to play sneaky here, try to get a wall up and burst down Eevee, and then try to get this close hold going on.
Okay, they are going for the close hold early like you called, but they're actually just all going to funnel out of the right exit of their spawn, and it's still getting spammed down. Barcode, though, they're going to step up now. She's able to find one here, and after that Mei wall is destroyed, is able to spam a shot onto Cat, but after that first initial pick, oh, Shesky does fall. Barcode is stepping up on the attack, and Aspen just finishes off Cat. Dart Monkey's excellent start. The close hold for Rift Guardians just doesn't work out, and that gives a lot of the ultimate charge to Dart Monkey's side.
And they're able to go forward now and hold the approach here from Rift Guardians. Allergy season is upon us here in Missouri, by the way. Sorry for that. Big pick once again right out the gate from Barcode.
Yeah, Barcode is really just keeping pace now, or outpacing Chesky. Oh, once we switch over to the side of the escorts, and Eevee is also able to do a lot of isolation onto Cat. Cat immediately goes down after Zembra is able to go around the Mei wall, and Jono still trying to contest the point. All of Rift Guardians fall once again. A second kill, fight one from Dart Monkeys.
That is fantastic from them. I mean, the focus fire is so good. These opening picks coming from Barcode, turning fights, really into their favor before it ever even gets started. So this is what Dart Monkeys is providing right now. This is actually going to be a great answer to the time that we saw coming out from Rift Guardians.
Oh, and this is exactly what both of these Mei's goal is, to isolate both tanks, but with the annihilation from Eevee out, it's going to be that much easier. And Barcode, oh my goodness, I think Barcode heard us. I think she is a little bit offended that we were just so Team Shesky in that last round, and she's just going to prove us wrong.
I mean, wow. Just wow. I mean, lands the Sonic Arrow there as well, claiming the high ground for their own. She is putting on a heck of a performance here. And Rift Guardians, they are reeling from what just happened to them on point A. 4:15 to get through the distillery.
Yeah, and this is also a very, very hard point for them to hold. They are all just corralled in a little room as Barcode is allowed to spam away for free over here across. But now they're trying to jump onto the Hanzo. Barcode better run, and she does. She just runs with the tail between her legs, and there's no shame in that. The Dragon Strike does come through, and with the help of the Blizzard, Eevee actually gets chunked, but they're able to just get that right back up. Shesky, however, they're just going to try and answer back to what Barcode has been bringing on point A, able to take out the Hanzo, but the Hanzo on the way back now, and they're still yet to find a second pick. They're still contesting that payload, though. Eevee has been isolated. There's a sound barrier from SK, but it actually doesn't get onto Eevee because of the Mei wall. Huge value from Chisato to win that fight and swing it in their direction. Now it's staggered pick onto Barcode, means that there's going to be a little bit more time to solve for Rift Guardians.
The kicker there is that SK puts out the panic sound barrier to try and save their tank, and it goes for naught. So now it's a free annihilation, nothing to really defend against it except for that measly little immortality barrier. Barcode's gonna have to come up big here. They've been doing it so far here on the attack phase. They need to do it again. They're a little bit ahead of that right now. There's the annihilation now.
Yeah, this is exactly what we expected, and there's the immortality field that is easily broken by Cat, and in turn, Eevee does fall very quickly. And the annihilation is coming back up very quickly for Eevee, but other than that, Rift Guardians, that fight was so free for them, especially since they were able to zone so well with the Mei wall and just separate the supports from the tank very quickly.
I mean, you're looking at a two-pronged approach here from Rift Guardians. You're looking at, Cat on the left-hand side as we're looking for the approach there. And then you've got that come through. Shesty once again, massive opening pick.
Shesky is just able to do so much on the Hanzo, and I think it was just a little bit of a warm-up back there on point A, and Shesky's able to get it back into her control. It's going to be smooth sailing from now on, or so Rift Guardians hopes, since they do have that Blizzard down, and they are just completely isolating the support. So once again, SK, however, answers back onto Chisato, does not take well to being corralled in a corner. However, that is going to be all that she wrote. One pick for Dart Monkeys in this fight, and once again, the timer is ticking down low now. The distillery is not looking like Dart Monkeys' favorite ground.
I mean, they have not been able to penetrate in the background or into the back line. That's the big problem. Jono and Armory just, having a wonderful time, maybe thinking about going to brunch. That's an opening pick that they needed, though.
Ooh, Barcode able to find Aramori once again. Barcode, you gotta be on one, you gotta be hitting the shots, and now they're rounding on to the payload. They're heavily contested though by the Lucio and the Mei, and even though they're trying to just protect themselves with the Mei wall, it's not enough. Chisato does go down to Zemrit, and they're finally able to win a fight since Rift Guardians is forced to disengage.
Well, I mean, they'll have a good amount of time here. Approach here. We're approaching the 35 seconds. Does have Dragon Strike in this.
Well, there's once again, I assume that we are seeing that sound bear from Jono come out in answer to the annihilation from Eevee. Eevee able to find 2 with the annihilation. That's not something you see much these days with Ramatra. And now Cat completely isolated, just being dozed down by the flamethrower, ice thrower, while Barcode finishes off Jono.
I mean, yeah, this is a great turn here for Dart Monkeys. Now they need to get that extra 90 seconds on the clock. Looking for what Rift Guardians have. I mean, they've got the Blizzard ready to go. They're going to have Annihilation. So what we saw on King's Row that was in favor of Dart Monkeys, now Rift Guardians have their economy completely in their favor. They should win, unless we see once again. Well, I was going to say Barcode coming through big, but they get taken out by Cats.
Yeah, Cat finding Barcode, it's just so valuable to have that Hanzo out at play because the Mei needs to be up close and personal, and if that Mei gets isolated, then it's an easy pickings for Rift Guardians. The Dragon Strike from all the way back, Barcode trying to make some space for the team. There's the sound barrier to save from the Blizzard, but it's not going to matter. Eevee goes down after Shesky takes out the Immortality Field, and even though Barcode does find one pick, it is not enough. Now 30 seconds left over Dart Monkeys. They are down to almost 0 despite the point A was so strong from them. They are just losing time and bleeding the seconds. Now just already being spawn camped by Rift Guardians. Rift Guardians, like you said, do not take lightly to losing that map, but they're getting a little bit too cocky here. Shesky still remaining far back, but oh, the Bastion pick from Barcode once again to pull out a hero play out of the back pocket. Halfway charged on the artillery strike, but there's a Dragon Strike that is available from Shesky. Shesky has just been on one this entire game, and for most of King's Row as well, and I expect it's not going to be anything different in this next fight.
I mean, it's all about how do we use this Blizzard coming up from Zemrit to cordon off area. Early wall comes through, though.
And the early wall is going to attempt to enable the Blizzard here. They're able to take down the Immortality Barrier, but Dart Monkey still has their own available. On top of that, they have the Ab Matrix, but Shesky is doing so much work just with the Sonic Arrow, able to take down Zemrit. Now without the Mei in play, it's an annihilation fight between the two tanks, but Eevee is so isolated. They still have that little bit of backup, but Cat still in Nemesis form, a little bit of that extra health in the pool, and they're struggling to keep them up, but there's Bastion as well, who's able to tear down these Mei barriers with such ease. Still, such a hard choke point for them to force themselves through, especially with just the Bastion. And now without the configuration, Chisato almost finishing off Bastion. Still, Barcode able to keep up, but not able to stay on the point. The lack of mobility does Dark Monkeys in, and Rift Guardians, they do take map 3.
Well, I mean, that was comprehensive out of Rift Guardians. I mean, really, inside the distillery is where everything fell apart for Dart Monkeys. They weren't able to get on top of the support line of Rift Guardians, and Aramori and Jono really having a fantastic game here for their side. And, man, Chisato had such a impactful look there on May. Really, the walls were perfect. Being able to stall out using the ice block, allowing the rest of the team to get back. Very well coordinated there from the Dart or from Rift Guardians. They go up on to match point now. It's a 2-1 lead here. Dart Monkeys' tournament lives are on the line, Tala.
Yeah, now 2-1, the next map being a push map. And it's all about that early control on push. It is definitely going to be tough to figure out who's going to be able to win this one out. So, you know, push, it's just going to be a bloodbath, especially if they do bring out this brawl composition once again. Depending on the map, you can play the Junker Queen, you can play the Ramatra, and it's just probably going to depend on who's going to be able to pull out these brawl compositions better if it comes down to one of those maps. But we are going to have to take a little bit of a break before we can get to this 4th map and potential final map of this entire series. So the semifinals, will it be over in the next map, or will we be taken to a map 5? Find out on the other end of this break.
All Heroes is important because of the safe environment and visibility it provides to the marginalized groups competing within the Overwatch community.
Why is it so important? Well, they need a voice. They need a presence, and they need our support.
Calling all heroes is our chance to kind of change that narrative and to prove that if we give the talent that is there a place to practice and a place to cultivate, it will inevitably rise.
Have to do is you can play a bit closer to it, but the Genji getting shut down.
SK with a big pick on the bun though, opens the door wide.
What and phone, the 2 DPS again, making the numbers count, making their ultimates work.
Another sustain tool being used in the sound barrier as well for the NYSL Academy. Everything's being thrown into this fight.
This Zen is absolutely monstrous.
Welcome back. We just had a tantalizing map of Havana, and now we are headed over to the push map of Esperança over in Portugal.
Yes, I think we're going to see Junker Queen come out here, honestly. Such a good map for the Junker Queen, being able to control the payload as Timothy Smythe the First gets going. But it's going to come down to a little bit of a pathing issues for both teams. How are they going to defend and or try to retake the payload as we go back and forth here? I think that the team that gets to about 100 meters should be in pretty good stead to take the map here. So, I mean, here in Esperança, looking for early picks. I want to see good counter rotations coming from aggression coming from respective sides. Really, Genji works very well here as well. The wall climb is very well known for being able to get in and out of fights. The dash resets, you know, because you're having to fight on the payload or on the robot there. We'll see. We'll see how this actually goes through and how it comes to play out. But, I mean, Dart Monkeys, tournament life is on the line here, and they're facing match point. So we want to see what do they have? What kind of fight do they have left in them? Because we've seen it back and forth. Havana was probably the most one-sided map I think that we've seen all evening between these two squads. So I think that for Dart Monkeys, they need to believe in themselves. Aspirin has really been putting in one hell of a performance tonight. I mentioned how much of a fan of hers I am. Well, it's definitely been amplified here in this semifinal, but they've got to get it done. They've got to get it done now. They've got to get us to a map 5 and take us to another control map.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about the Genji potentially, but I think that Kiriko also with the wall climb can be very viable here. And I think on every single push map, you are probably going to see the Lucio-Kiriko combination because it's just so much easier to get in and out of spawn if you do get picked, as well as being able to help the teammates out to get closer to this to the robot as well. But it is all about those early pushes, since defending, when you start losing on a push map, it is that much harder to get started instead of being stuck in this defensive position. You need to win a few fights in a row in order to flip the objective over in your favor.
Yep, and I mean, getting that first checkpoint is so important because you're going to have forward spawns, and then you have to. It's at least one fight, probably two, to get it back to that midway point and take away the forward spawn advantage of the other team. So, I mean, early picks. We've seen both Shesty and Barcode kind of trading back and forth. I think this is going to be another micro moment for us in this map. Who's going to come out with the first pick? I think that's going to be really how this sets up. I think that if Barcode gets on top of them early and she goes ham, then that's going to be where we see Dart Monkeys go forward. If it's Shesty, on the other hand, I'm worried about the Dart Monkeys' ability to recontest and flip a fight in their favor, because they're on Havana. They looked a little bit disjointed. I hope that they've taken this time. They've gotten some, non-sponsored energy drinks in them, maybe a shot of espresso or something else. But I mean, for them, they've got to really knuckle down here because they are facing their tournament lives.
Yeah, and I mean, do you think that we are going to see that Hanzo come out again? Because Shesty was just killing it on the Hanzo. Or is it going to be more of those Tracer, Sombra picks, ones that are very hyper mobile and make it very easy to get in and out? Because once again, the push maps, the walks back from spawn, it's like, I feel like we're going on a hike here on Esperanza.
I mean, there's so many nooks and crannies that Tracer works so incredibly well here. I think that the Sombra pick would actually be good, in combination with that Tracer. So, I mean, if you can work the dive here, which is what it looks like Rift Guardians are going to bring out, you're going dive versus burst brawl here from Dart Monkey. So, this is two schools of thought that are going to come to a very cataclysmic joining here on the bot.
Oh my goodness, but I am loving the Reaper Sojourn pick. I feel like this is back in like the beta days of Overwatch 2. This is literally what it feels like with the picks that we are seeing come out right now. Already, they're trying to get that hack onto Shesky. They want the Sojourn out of the fight early. It's not going to work out. Barcode going to go on and head back. And Rift Guardians are Dart Monkeys actually going to be the ones that are going to take first control of this objective and start pushing around the corner. I want to see this Reaper try and find a little bit of value, especially since they know that Eevee does favor the Winston pick over here, and they're really looking to try and get a good counter into this tank and get that dive out of the way. But Chisato, after quite a bit of damage, it does force Eevee very far back. So I feel like these names are backwards. And Rift Guardians. I was a little bit lost, but it seems like the trades do come back and forth. Rift Guardians continue to push forward. Dart Monkeys unable to contest.
They do not have the burst potential that the Rift Guardians do. I mean, just the Reaper alone is going to make Eevee's life hell. And I mean, Zemrit's going to have to really come out big with a pulse bomb, and I mean the Suzu available from Aramori. That is really where it's going to go through. Big hack onto Kappa.
Oh, there's the pulse bomb and the EMP in tandem from Dart Monkeys. They use that sound barrier as well, but SK falls before that Kitsune Rush can come out. Aramori, on the other hand, has been able to force that team forward a little and at least save them from the combination of ultimates that was thrown with the EMP and pulse bomb. Both DPSs just throwing everything at this fight. Dart Monkeys, they still cannot get the flip on the point though, and Rift Guardians, they are surprisingly close to that first checkpoint already.
I mean, I would honestly like to see a Pharaoh come out here. Pharaoh works very well on Esperanza. They don't really have much to deal with it. Shesky has been good. And I mean, the Kitsune Rush is going to get them purchased on the point. They actually don't get the first point.
Okay, just before that checkpoint goes through, Dart Monkeys are able to flip it and run that robot back over to their side. Eevee finding Shesky makes it a lot easier. Both DPSs now out. Rift Guardians need to find some way to dish some damage. Jono trying to find something, but still, even with the wall ride, Zemrit just spams down. And Cat and Jono both out. Zemrit finishes things off. Both of Rift Guardian supports out of the fight, but it was a pretty expensive one. They'd have to use SK's Kitsune Rush, and Aramori, on the other hand, is pretty close to building that one up right again.
I mean, the good thing here for Zemrit, though, is that they almost have Pulse Bomb on line once again. And, I mean, looking at the disengage, they're going to need to be able to disengage from this Death Blossom. I think that Eevee is going to have to be the one that contests the Death Blossom and bats away the Reaper here because they don't have much to deal with. I mean, Aspen very close, though, onto their own sound barrier, so they actually made the gap up.
Ooh, Aspen was able to just make that up incredibly quickly, but with the overclock coming out, that's what's going to force the Primal Rage instead of that Death Blossom. And when the Primal Rage comes through, Jono knows what to do and just takes the sound barrier out. Oh my gosh, but the overclock from Barcode is able to find one. It's just a trade of ultimates and of lives. Rift Guardians still having control of the robot though, and they see Eevee trying to disengage and regroup with the rest of the team, getting quite a bit of damage. This Reaper is just doing so well to bat away this monkey. Winston cannot get anywhere close to the squad, but Zembrit is attempting to contest. Still, that checkpoint hasn't been reached just yet. It seems like it is so close.
Wow. I think they actually did. I think they did get it. I think they barely got it over there. I'm looking at it. It's kind of like dancing on that line, but I mean, what a turn there from Dark Monkeys, actually winning this fight out and pushing forward.
And they have, oh my gosh, Zembrit, what a stick onto Chisato, and now Aspen with the sound barrier able to get it down, and it's so much overhealth to this team. Aramori taken down, no supports to try and get this team up and back into the fight, so it's just going to be walking the robot back on over to their side and trying to get that push started all the way to the checkpoint.
Ma'am, let me tell you what, Zembrit, that was absolutely just disgusting, in the most wonderful way. And now you've got a Rampage available here, or I'm sorry, a Primal Rage here available to Eevee. Cat is still looking for their own Rampage. They're actually going to disengage and take another fight.
Yeah, I mean, Jono does have that sound barrier, so it's really easy for them to be able to disengage and quickly save their squad if anything comes through, like that Primal Rage from Eevee, trying to get up close and personal, but they still have Chisato just spamming away. Eevee, however, gets on one onto Shesty, so that's without the Sojourn. Now they're going to look for the Kitsune Rush to potentially get a little bit more firepower on their side, and they are able to take control of the objective, but as soon as they get to the underpass, they are once again met with the full face of Zembrit's Pulse Bomb. The overclock from Barcode has been built up incredibly fast as well. That Rampage doesn't hit anybody, and they're just all getting out of the way. Aspen taking down Chisato and means another control of the objective, and it's just Rift Guardians all corralled into this little room. Barcode taking control of the high ground, knowing exactly where Shesky is. They can't get away. It's all left up to one, just hiding in this little room. Where are they gonna go? They are being spammed through, but the Death Blossom might be able to get them out of it. It is not. You saw the Suzu come out from SK. They're able to save the squad, and they are just continuing to contest, trying to make sure that they can't get the checkpoint, but Dart Monkeys, after a one fight just around the first checkpoint, are able to secure it and even push further, finally taking control of the map with 3 minutes remaining.
Okay, so I think both teams have hit the actual what we call a butt scratch, and now they're gonna put out the Kitsune Rush to surge forward and get even more progress going on.
Yeah, this Kitsune Rush is really offensively used to make some space, and this is just exactly what Dark Monkeys does. They always push further forward than the point. Shesky with the overclock, now neutralizing Barcode. This is just, once again, matchup of the century with these two DPSs, always on the mirror matchup, always trying to outpace and outmatch the other, but now, after using that overclock, Barcode is already 67% to the next one, so it's still something they have to watch out for. Meanwhile, both of these Lucios, they have the sound barriers online.
I mean, we're looking for the engagement here. There's the Kitsune Rush coming out from Aramori. The sound barrier is put out from both squads.
Sound barrier from both sides, but Rift Guardians, they're coming out on top of these engagements though. They are just forcing all of Dart Monkeys players into these little corners where they can't escape, especially that Tracer, when you know there's so much power with the recall, and Barcode tried to go for a hero play, but even with the overclock ready, there just wasn't anything to write.
I mean, it's all about re-engage now. Yeah, and we do see that they did actually secure the pause moment there with TS1 now pushing into the second part of the streets here. You're looking at the overclock and the Primal Rage. Minute and a half here left this is exactly what they want. They can disengage and take the fight on their own.
There's the Rampage ready for Cat, though. This could be devastating, and they don't have the sound barrier. It is huge. It's the bleed applied to almost all 5 players. Now only the Primal Rage, Eevee alive, and even though Chisato has been taken down, it is going to be tough for Eevee to survive this one. Rift Guardians, it seems like they're taking the lead once again, while Aspen just tries to keep them at bay with a few spam shots, but no one's scared of the little speaker.
I like it. I mean, this is a smart disengage from Rift Guardians. They're just going to take fights on their own terms now and hold ground and not allow the progress to come through. This Pulse Bomb, though, could be huge for Zemrit. And let's look for SK in the next fight to put out this Kitsune Rush.
Yeah, Shesky is the one that has the ultimate realistically coming up. Chisato could be close to follow, but oh, Zemrit almost having the stick. Oh, the Suzu from Aramori makes it so they all survive the Pulse Bomb. But even so, Dart Monkeys, they've made enough room so they can have this robot running over towards their own wall, and they're going to restart that push on their side. Rift Guardians trailing behind, but the time is so low. It's got to be an overtime push, and SK goes down. That's insane from Shesky. Now they only have the Lucio to rely on, and they need to touch. They need to stay on top of this, and the Death Blossom forces them off. Shesky with the overclock as well. They're still trying to contest, but Barcode now falling. The overclock has become huge, and Aspen just cannot get close enough to touch. Rift Guardians, in a fiery glory, they're able to get this last map of Esperanza and win the series 3-1.
Oh my word. This was on a nice edge. And this right here, this Rampage, watch the follow-up onto, I believe it was onto Aspen there, taking the Suzu off the table. That was the moment where everything turned here in this last fight, because they had the meterage ahead of Rift Guardians, and it was just that one fight, that one ultimate, the Rampage, so huge. Completely turns the economy around, turns the entire match around, quite frankly. And Cat put up one hell of a performance on this. And I tell you what, this was a treat to watch. It may have been 3-1, but that's one of the darn closest 3-1s that I have seen in quite some time. And Tala, I mean, we're going to get a chance to talk to one of these Rift Guardians. We're going to take it to a quick little break, but when we come back, we will have an interview. Don't go away.
Hey guys, my name is Cassie Brown, aka CB, and I am an esports broadcaster. My pronouns are she, her. I am a transgender woman from Anchorage, Alaska, and I am now currently residing out in Philly. Calling all heroes is extremely important to me because culturally I believe esports still has a problem with things like sexism and homophobia and transphobia. We don't see a whole lot of people like us in the Overwatch League, and that really sucks because it's not because we can't do it and it's not because we shouldn't do it, but it's because when we go into voice chat in games, we're told you don't belong here, what are you doing? Calling all heroes is our chance to kind of change that narrative and to prove that if we give the talent that is there a place to practice and a place to cultivate, it will inevitably rise. And it's going to send the message to all of the people watching that yes, you do belong here. This is worth pursuing. You're not wasting your time. No matter what everyone else tells you, no matter what the people in voice chat want to say, you still belong here.
What's up, everybody? Chef Billy here, and if you know anything about me, you look at my Twitter, it's all about raising up voices and giving the support where it is needed, and now is the best time for anybody else that wants to join in. Please join in with us. Where did I get started with this? Well, it was actually at Console Gaming League. I was a caster there, and I was kind of shy about who I was, and they finally just said, you know what, Billy, just be you. Be you, be on camera, be you. And now that's what we're gonna do for our marginalized and diverse communities that we need here. So we need more heroes. Are you gonna join us?
Hi, everyone.
Hello, welcome back for our post-match interview with our winning team. It's going to be Ara Mori. We saw her do some crazy Suzus on that very last map of Esperanza, and she is here with us today. So, Ara Mori, how are you feeling after that match?
Monkey's game were going to be definite challenges that we've been preparing all week for. So, feeling good.
And did you have any expectations or certain expectations going into that match? Like, how did you prepare for this?
Well, we mostly just practiced the maps that we knew we were going to try to force. So, like Oasis is our pick. So we mostly just played a lot of Oasis today. Like there was one scrim where we just had like we played Oasis just 4 times in a row over and over and over again, and felt like we were just living the same day over and over again. So yeah, just lots of practice, and then we took what Dart Monkeys was playing in stride. Like they played that monkey comp, which was something a lot of other teams aren't really playing. They're playing like the Queen, right? And so I was like, it's time. It's Reaper time. So we pulled out the Reaper.
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, I have been casting you for quite a while, going way back, actually to Trial of Champions with Elo Hell, and I mean, I've been impressed with you since then. What do you think has been the biggest growth for you here in the Path to Pro system?
Honestly, like I used to be very, very shy as a person. I used to be very intimidated to speak my mind and do my own thing. But with calling out heroes and Path to Pro, even I learned how to lead. I am IGL for my team currently, so I'm just constantly talking, constantly speaking, and I have like confidence in myself when I do it. I'm like, we're doing this, and I know it's the like correct thing to do, or I know it's a really good thing to do. And I think
Right.
not only is that like helped me outside of the game, but it helps me a lot like in teams. My teammates trust me definitely.
So, I mean, that leads into my next question then. What advice would you have to people that might be a little bit leery of doing calling all the heroes? Maybe they're not, not confident in themselves. What would you say to them? The mic is yours. What would you say to, you know what? It's welcoming. It's a great initiative, and it's a great competition.
I would definitely say it's scary at first, but you just have to like jump into the deep end and just trust that the community is good, and it is like there. Of course, there's gonna be maybe some bad apples, but everybody else is so warm and so welcoming, and it's unbelievable the amount of support that we've seen from everyone for this initiative.
Yeah, that is great to hear. And is there any shout outs that you would like to make at the end of this match before you go?
Just all of my team for being incredible, for having mentals of steel, HQ for sensing in the air whenever there's a flank going to be happening. She can just smell it. I don't know. And for just being amazing people willing to grind. Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking to us today, Aramori, and big congratulations in the semifinals and your victory against Dart Monkeys. You are now in the top 2, and best of luck in your next match in the grand finals as well.
Thank you so much. Pleasure talking to both of you.
All right, well, that's going to do it here. We're going to take a look at the bracket and see what happened on the other side as we saw NYXL Academy absolutely obliterate Timeless Ether. And I thought Timeless Ether was on one yesterday. Well, Nixel Academy just had their way with Timeless Ether, taking them down 3-0. So that is your grand final. It's going to be brought to you by the wonderful Tiny Shiny and the fabulous CB coming up here in just a little bit. But for myself and Tala Epitomes here, that's our time done here on the minor. You have really impressed me. I have had the most wonderful time. What you guys don't see here on camera is that Mia and Tala have been just joking and laughing and talking in French and other stuff like that. It's been a wonderful time. Thank you so much for joining me here.
Yeah, this was definitely a blast. I am so impressed by initiatives like these and so happy that they are spreading to so many games and that they're receiving so much support from the community as well. So I'm excited to see what happens in the grand finals. It's going to be CB and Tiny Shiny that are taking you home in the NYXL versus Rift Guardians matchup, and we wish the best of luck to both of these teams. But for us, that is going to be all. They are going to take you home after the end of this break. See you then.
Tiny Shiny, and I'm a play-by-play caster who identifies with she/her pronouns. One of the best moments I've had with the Overwatch community had to have been when I attended the Overwatch League 2022 Summer Showdown Finals in Toronto. It was mind-blowing to see all of these people of different ages, backgrounds, and identities all come together under one love for Overwatch. Hearing all the cheers of the crowd mixed with the top-tier commentary, and of course watching some of the best players in the world play the game we all enjoy was absolutely surreal and a moment I'll never forget. Calling all heroes is important because of the safe environment and visibility it provides to the marginalized groups competing within the Overwatch community. These gender groups are heavily underrepresented when it comes to the esports world, and the initiative taken by Calling All Heroes has created a safe space for competition. This event gives players a boost of equity to further establish themselves in the Overwatch esports scene and continue to develop their talents in a team environment. Calling All Heroes not only provides opportunities to players and staff, but spreads the message that anyone can be a hero.
Hi, my name's Emiliath and my pronouns are she, her. I'm a full-time Overwatch content creator and HEM2 support main that plays mostly Ana and Kiriko. Oh, and I also struggle to stay on the map.
I just think Ramacho's not good. I think, dude, I did it again.
In the same exact spot!
I got into Overwatch because one of my college professors recommended it to me, and I promised him I would play after I graduate. Weirdly enough, I think he was also a GM Ana main. Anyway, when I finally did play it, I got hooked instantly. It just didn't really feel like any other game compared to it. And here I am years later, still playing. Some of the most memorable moments in the community were during the creator experimental patches. I just think that was like a really cool way to get the community involved, and I think pretty much everybody had fun playing it. And I think it's awesome how many community-run tourneys there are. Every single one is fun to participate in, fun to watch, and it's just really cool that so many people take initiative to bring the community together. Calling All Heroes is important because so many marginalized gender people are afraid or simply can't get their foot in the door in esports. They're likely to receive harassment and be discriminated against, so creating a space that allows them to freely and openly be who they are without fear of discrimination is important. It also provides a way to highlight esports talent that may have been overlooked otherwise. Calling All Heroes is necessary and an amazing organization.
We have made it to the grand finals of the first Calling All Heroes minor recall event. CB, I am stoked to be here on the stage today. We have teams that have fought through the Switch stage, through the playoff bracket to make it to this point. NYXL Academy and Rift Guardians are here to battle it out on the big stage to find out who will take home the championship.
I cannot wait. Both of these teams have shown us some phenomenal things throughout this bracket. NYXL Academy beating Timeless Ethereal 3-0 off stream. Like, that match with Dart Monkeys and Rift Guardians was kind of a banger just now, but in the background, we had an actual, rematch of the finals from the previous major tournament, and NYXL Academy starting off their redemption arc by 3-0ing the reigning champions. That's a statement. If you're Rift Guardians, you beat Dart Monkeys, you're coming into this feeling really good, but you also have to be a little teeny bit worried there.
Mm-hmm. Because not only did they beat Dart Monkeys, though, CB, they actually managed to take down NYXL Academy in the Swiss stage. I believe it was a 2-1 victory going over to them. So this is a team that they were able to beat in a previous matchup. They're coming back today, NYXL Academy. They've gone back to the drawing boards. They've regrouped, and they're meeting again here in that grand final spot. I mean, we look at these rosters. You know them. You love them. We've seen them on Contenders. We've seen them in the bracket of Calling All Heroes. But there is one new face that we want to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, and that's going to be Orion down there in that lower right-hand, not the corner, but just right next to it, right next to Kiro there. But Orion has been, the tool they needed, what they needed to kind of shape their backline up a little bit more and have a little bit more dominance in the flex support position. And it's also that, plus the fact that we're now in a very JQ-favored meta, and that is big for Kindred. Mm-hmm. Kindred pounds on Junker Queen. She's another one of these players who has been grinding the Junker Queen even when she was not meta. So when she finally gets all these buffs, again, Blizzard, I don't know why you buffed Junker Queen as hard as you did, but here we are, it's working out. When those buffs came through, Kindred was like, oh, my time has come. I'm going to answer this bat signal. Looked up to the sky and she was like, this is my time. And she has shown it in this tournament. Again, this team 3-0'd the reigning champions, Timeless Ethereal, who also looked really strong yesterday. We got to see plenty of them on the stream, but now it's time to see NYXL Academy complete the redemption arc.
But they're going to have to do it against this Rift Guardians team, who we just saw compete in the semifinals match. And while it was a 3-1 victory in their direction, I don't feel like that scoreline fully represents that matchup with the Dart Monkeys. That was down to the wire on so many different occasions. Every point was dragged out to overtime. It came down to really one fight to decide the overall outcome of each map. And that's not something that NYXL, they're going to play very well towards. If Rift Guardians, they're coming out, they can fight in a battle that they're confident in themselves. I mean, we were talking about this a little bit during the break too, where Sheshti here she probably had the best game we have ever seen from her in her life. The plays on the Hanzo, hitting those shots, finding so many opening eliminations for Rift Guardians, got them so far in this matchup. I mean, between that, working with Kat and Aramori, being so solid all around, this is a Rift Guardian squad to be scared of. They're in their top form, and they are coming to play against NYXL Academy.
Yeah, a lot of it was Shesty and Barcode going blow for blow, and it was Shesty kind of getting the better of it in some of those situations. In rare form, if Shesty is continued to allow to pound in the way that she has thus far, it is going to be a little bit scary. But I also, again, want to tie things back to that tank meta where it's more JQ favored. I like the fact that Rift Guardians were able to bust out the Junker Queen at times, and even if that wasn't their go-to consistently, it was still something that they showed they showed that they were competent on. They showed that they were able to play that comp up to or able to dethrone the opponents in Dart Monkeys, who tended to favor more dive. As did Timeless Ethereal. Both those teams, Dart Monkeys and Timeless Ethereal, they wanted to play Winston. In some situations, they wanted to play Doomfist. I don't know why you would bust that out. This is a call-out post for Sawhill, but, whatever, that just doesn't really work in the meta right now. You can't get away with that. And both of these teams here today know it, they understand it, they've read the meta, and they know that it is within their best strengths to play Junker Queen when necessary. And that's kind of why I like this Oasis as the first pick here, because you think both Gardens and University are going to be very strong picks for Junker Queen, and people are able to get away with playing her to great effect on City Center as well. So, both teams know this is where their bread is buttered. This is what we have to be the best at right now if we want to be the best in this tournament. It's time to put up or shut up. There's no more second chances. We're in the grand finals, and I can't wait to see what ends up happening here.
This is the true test for both of these teams right now. We've seen them play against varying styles, but we're coming out here, we're expecting the mirror matchup. These teams, they're going to be trading blow for blow. It's going to be about who wants it more, who has been on the grind, practicing this so much just to get to this point. Getting to the grand finals, that is a huge achievement on its own, not to mention all that is at stake with the prize pool on itself. Coming away with that championship victory, say that you can do it. NYXL Academy in the major event came up with a second place. This is their chance to get that first place for redemption, while Rift Guardians, they're here to make a name for themselves. Come out of these gates strong. Send a statement to all of the people that have ever doubted them in this tournament.
And it's also not even just about the cash prize. I mean, it kind of definitely is at least a little bit about the cash prize, but it's also about the circuit points as Calling All Heroes goes on. NYXL Academy came into this 3,900 to Timeless Ethereal's 4,500. A big win here is going to put them in first place overall going into the next tournament here. So that's what you're going to be looking at as both of these teams start to go blow for blow on the Mirror Ramatra comps up on the high ground on University.
I mean, we talked about the Junker Queen, but the Ramatra has been a strong look for both Cat and Kindred, but it will be Cat coming up with the first blow, but NYXL Academy are not too far behind. Orion played a huge part into that fight. Just look at the damage output that Baptiste was able to have.
Yeah, and Kindred, I talked a lot about how great she is at the Junker Queen, but she's also really strong on the Ramatra, so even if you're forcing her into this mirror situation, she can still pound on the Ramatra, and we do see it there. There's also a huge boot from Wicca onto Aramori that ends up opening that fight up and ceasing all of the healing operations that were done there, but that's an early pickoff from Shesti that we kept seeing in the previous series, and if she keeps that up, NYXL Academy are going to be in trouble.
Oh yeah, Shesti has gone absolutely bonkers in this previous round and shows no signs of stopping. Like, look at the difference in the Dragon Strike charge right now. Shesti is putting in the work, but it can't just be all up to the Hanzo to create the space, do the damage. Orion's coming in, mirroring Amp Matrix. He's on the point of University here. Kindred is getting beaten down into a pulp on the objective. Rift Guardians came back in with a vengeance here, and you owe a lot of that to Shesti's initial elimination.
I mean, but the whole team is doing a ton of work. I mean, you still have that Blizzard coming up soon. You're gonna have both the Annihilation and the Sound Barrier. You're on par with the pace that is being set by all the players in NYXL Academy, despite losing that first fight. So that kind of goes back to that first fight, and we look at it, and it was actually a little bit closer than it ended up being. It was just a couple of those early pickoffs here. But with that Dragon Strike advantage, they can force positioning and slow the rotation in from NYXL Academy here.
Yeah, but not slow enough, because Shisato ended up going down so close to that Blizzard. The NYXL Academy have their own Dragon Strike, waltzing right onto the objective. All Rift Guardians can do is really just hang on, get themselves a little bit more percentage on that objective, but that flip is going to be inevitable.
It's a Dragon Strike for a Dragon Strike, but NYXL Academy coming out ahead is going to be massive. Also, that late kill onto Aramori means that only just now can Rift Guardians start to make their approach back to the point here, and they're going to be walking right into a Blizzard. And I feel like on the defensive end, the Blizzard is just a little bit more utilitous. You're going to be able to get a little bit more out of it, and you're going to see both teams actually wanting to draw first blood with it.
Both Blizzards laid practically on top of each other, but the Sound Barrier a little bit too late for Cat. Just ended up getting chewed through, so Kindred walks right on through the team. And only gets Shisato with that ultimate, but that's plenty of value to come through. NYXL have to conserve the resources.
Yeah, and at the end of this next fight, NYXL Academy will almost assuredly be in one-fight territory, and they'll have time to try and build up the ult deficit that not getting a lot of value out of that Annihilation is going to put them at right now. Rift Guardians having that advantage should be able to swing this fight. NYXL Academy only going to have the positioning that they're going to be able to get from... I was going to say from the Amp Matrix, but from an early pickup onto Shesti, that's going to help as well.
Oh, it really is, because now Cat's job got so much harder. Does manage to get Wisp looking for Kindred. The Immortality Field not playing too kind to them. In the end here, ends up going down to NYXL Academy. At that 99% overtime is going to be expended. These early pickoffs have just been the telltales at these fights. We've seen very few full 5v5s heading into this, and it has shown NYXL Academy came with that initial consistency, and we're going to close it out here on University.
I mean, and we highlighted Shesti a lot in the way that she has been in rare form, especially in the previous matchup here, but that's kind of like a feast or famine sort of situation where if you're banking your entire stock on Shesti getting an early pickoff, well, what happens if she's the one that gets picked off first because she was playing an aggressive angle, trying to find one of those picks, and Bun hits an icicle to the dome, or Wisps gets the better of the Hanzo v Hanzo exchange? Then what happens? What's our backup plan? And in that situation, there really wasn't one because Rift Guardians, they just, didn't have much of a plan. That all just kind of got thrown into disarray. And then Aramori, followed Chesty to the grave just a little bit too quickly. So they weren't able to stabilize. They weren't able to keep a realistic chance at capping the point there and flipping it once Chesty went down here. So, that's kind of like you live or die by what Chesty does here. You kind of have to have a plan B in case she gets picked off early.
I mean, the nice thing here is that Chesty isn't going to be able to do too much. Wisp was able to get to that high ground first, so Rift Guardians, they're at a significant disadvantage in terms of the positioning, but apparently that doesn't matter for Wicca, who got caught out by Cat. That is going to be the signal to rush on up, clean up the rest of these players. Rift Guardians, that is amazing. I believe that was actually a knife stick onto the Lucio player to guarantee that first elimination, and that is so key considering the positioning disadvantage.
Sometimes you go fishing and you catch yourself a marlin. That time, Cat caught themselves a Wicca in the back line, and look at how far down she's going to be in sound barrier charge after dying so soon, not having essentially any work done. That's all passive ult charge. She's going to have to try and make up the deficit a little bit here. Bun is also kind of lacking after having fallen early, so NYXL Academy, they have to try and play this slow, and on City Center, that means that this capture percentage for Rift Guardians is going to tick way, way up.
Oh yeah, you'll see teams just get to 99% right off the bat because it is so difficult to put this point over, but a great start for Wisp. Get the problem child out of the equation. The Wisp is soon to fall right after, punished for their mistakes. Chisato opening that one right back up for Rift Guardians, who were able to collapse on the remaining players. NYXL Academy, they needed to play it slow, but they jumped the gun just a little bit too soon there.
So Wicca closed the gap, but Bun really didn't there, and neither did Orion, so now Rift Guardians are going to be at the ult advantage. You might have sound barriers on both sides coming out around the same time, potentially Rampage if Cat holds on to that one for a little bit, but overall, the Kitsune Rush from Aramori might end up just being the difference maker, and barring that, Chesty is going to have that Bob really soon, and these are ults that can really force NYXL Academy to slow the tempo down, and to echo what I literally just said on City Center, it's going to hurt. This ult percentage, Rift Guardians after this fight should be in one fight territory even if they blow it.
Here they go. We're getting a little bit of deja vu here. Wisp finds the head of Scursy right off the bat. They want to make it happen, but Cat flying in with the Rampage striking 4 players. No Suzu available. Orion ended up going down. Didn't have it. Rift Guardians, they're just going to clean up the house here. NYXL Academy, they haven't had a legitimate chance to push any fight here. They're finding themselves in one last one, but it's not going to be a full 5 players.
Yeah, not at all. Wicca's going to be able to come back and have the sound barrier, but we're at 95%. It's all going to be a staggered fight here, and Kindred falling means there's no sustain. Chisato could just pop this Dragon Bait, slice Wisps right up. Orion's got nowhere to go. Dead to the Bob. Wicca's sound barrier expires. Her life soon to follow. Bun never got the chance to use a Dragon Blade, and that's going to be a real clean 100-0 for Rift Guardians.
Oh, wow, that was Rift Guardians in the driver's seat, CB. There was no point there that I doubted who was in control. NYXL Academy, they were on the back foot the entire time in terms of the ultimate economy, in terms of the tempo. They just couldn't get a foot in the door because Rift Guardians were squishing their toes against the frame. That doesn't feel too good because now here we are, that map number 3 after a complete shutout. This needs to be a mental reset as well as a bit of an idea in their heads. What do NYXL Academy hope to accomplish heading into this next point?
And that also kind of goes back to my previous point where I was talking about feast or famine as it regards to Chesty, but, despite Chesty being the first to fall in a lot of those fights, you're still seeing Rift Guardians, yeah, they actually do have a plan B, and Chisato is that plan B. 13 elims, that's in 0 deaths, that's quite the stat right there for Chisato. Excellent play for Rift Guardians. So yeah, you do kind of have to have a little bit more in the bag than just taking out Chesty. You also have to take down what comes next.
There needs to be more than just the first step. You gotta have multiple plans that need to adapt through the way. It's great to have a door in, but Overwatch is a game of being able to transition from one play to the next. And NYXL Academy, they want to be the ones to take the initiative. Rift Guard, they weren't prepared. They're running so far backwards, but Wisp gets caught out in this far aggression. Cat wasn't with the team. And Scarcy's like, oh wait, I can shoot again. Pops a couple heads along the way. Rift Guardians, this was a huge peel back from them. You can see the comms coming into play with Jono getting their team out of danger, putting them back into the fight, and they'll get that first capture as a result.
Yeah, and it ends up being kind of an overcommitment on NYXL Academy's side where they kind of feel like they have, all the ground. They can be the aggressors. They can try and take that fight into that small little corridor. But the early pickoffs that Cat was able to find make a huge difference in terms of both the Junker Queen ult charge as we stand currently going into the next fight and NYXL Academy's ability to close that early fight down. There's another early pickup on Deshesti, but as we've established, you dealt with a left hook, you gotta be ready for the right.
Well, you know what? Maybe third time's the charm here. Kindred wants to get something done with the Ashe player being out of the fight, but that doesn't mean Chisato isn't going to be available to just demolish on the Genji. Has been able to just stay alive. This whole fight has not died, and down goes Kindred. As a matter of fact, Wicco ended up winning the race to the sound barrier, but not in time to save their tank player. NYXL are fighting to compensate for that loss, and if they're able to get Chesty again, they're going to have a chance because Bun just went out and decided to play Sushi Chef, slicing through the opposition.
Yeah, they dealt with the left hook, they dealt with the right, and then clapped back with a haymaker. And now Bun is going to lap Chisato in terms of that Dragon Blade charge. I mean, yeah, Rift Guardians are going to have a sound barrier and a Suzu for that, but the fact that they're able to win out in that ult engagement means they're at least going to be able to bleed out some resources from Rift Guardians and give themselves a fighting chance to build back up to some of their ultimates. They're also going to have a Kitsune Rush of their own and a Bob to stall this out. So NYXL Academy, they can even things up and potentially surpass Rift Guardians here, as long as everyone keeps their head down and Chesty does not decapitate someone.
Chesty's honestly been the one to be decapitated. I'd be more concerned for her, especially as soon as Bun decides to initiate, but the Bionade is huge. Look at that anting effect. That Rampage couldn't have not asked for more value from Cat. You're gonna get a trade out, a support for a support, but Wisp is still alive and managed to pick off two. Chisato needs to take care of them, will be able to do so. Now you just need to gather the remaining scraps of NYXL Academy and take it down to bed. Chisato wants to be the one to make a difference, but the Rampage only down onto the Genji, shuts down the Dragon Blade to be the one to turn it around. NYXL have surpassed in terms of the percentage, and they're looking to hold on to it here. Cat is still in the fight, battling this one through. Kindred doesn't really have the cooldowns to kind of take this one face to face, ends up backing off, but whether this game is neutral or not, CB, NYXL, they're still getting ground.
Yeah, oh, and a late pickoff there on Zajano as well. Yeah, Rift Guardians, they have to get out. They can't keep the stagger fight going any longer. You lose your Lucio, that's your ability to control the tempo gone. So they have to try and back up. Now NYXL Academy are crossing that 80% threshold, getting into one fight territory. And Rift Guardians expended so many resources to try and win that last fight and came up with nothing. The Dragon Blade from Chisato got completely shut down by Orion. They don't have anything. They have to try and bide their time and build up to something and hope that it's enough to overcome Wicca's sound barrier.
That's the thing, Wicca just has this to walk on in. Cat has to be afraid for their lives, don't have the health bar. Scrishty ends up going down. Bud claims the lives of another, looking for a third. Deflex will only delay the inevitable as NYXL Academy, they came back swinging from their loss in City Center to go ahead, recover here on Gardens. Map number 1 will be going over to them.
The pendulum swings back and forth between these two teams. This might be a series that has the potential to go the difference, because for every time that NYXL Academy look like they're getting punked out, they are the ones doing the punking. You saw, we go back to City Center. Bun, she never got a chance to build up to a Dragon Blade. It was over too quickly. On Gardens, she says, I don't even need the Dragon Blade. I'm just gonna get the Swift Strike resets, slice, dice your whole team. Like you said, playing Sushi Chef the whole time. I love that call out there. That was a great one. But, it's a great turnaround, and in a way, kind of a microcosm for their whole trajectory as a team. The comeback story is real. The redemption arc, that contender season, we forget about that. We start anew right here, right now. But like you said, Rift Guardians, it's going to be back and forth. I want to see more of this pendulum swinging. As we go into the next map that is going to be their pick, I do kind of want to see more of this back and forth. Bun and Chisato, look how close they are overall. You see, Chisato has a little bit more damage and a little bit better of a KD, but that damage is pretty close there. And a lot of that was made up in the back half by Bun there. And again, both these players were playing Mei on University, so those stats would probably be even a little bit more buffed up if we were playing Genji the whole time. But I mean, this is pretty even. Like, to me, yeah, Chisato's getting the better of it, but Bun's still doing enough to make up the difference and win for her team. Yeah. So I like to see this. I like to see where we're going with this also, because this should be good.
And you know what the craziest part about that is? Bun has double the deaths that Chisato has, and was still able to get just as much done in several departments, which is pretty crazy. You can see how much Bun improved, literally took the game into her own hands and said, you know what, this is my turf now, and nobody from Rift Guardians was allowed to touch it.
It's like that saying that the flame that burns twice as bright burns out twice as fast. But I mean, for how bright she was burning while she was alive, getting that much work done, I think that's a trade-off you take if you're able to get the dub there, but might be something to look out for in the future.
is like we looked at that matchup, but I also want to talk about the matchup between the two hitscan players here. Shkesti we talked about her so much. We talked about how much that she just really just ran over their opposition in the semifinals, and the amount of times that these fights started with Wisp just clicking her head was pretty ridiculous. I mean, that wasn't really the same star power that we've been seeing. I mean, was this Wisp just really starting to show up, get the better of the Ashe counterpart, or is this Shkesti starting to fumble a little bit more?
It might honestly just be Wisps showing up, because I do know for a fact that Wisp is a phenomenal hit scan player. And I mean, we did see a lot of Shkesti popping off in the previous series against Barcode, who is another phenomenal hit scan player. But it might just be, you know, the pecking order that we thought we would see, as you know, with all these hit scan players, that the upper echelon might just be kind of, you know, in flux right now. And it might be that Wisp might just be closer to the top than we might have previously assumed. I would definitely keep an eye on this player and see how it continues to progress going forward, because there's still time for Shkesti to stake her claim and still be, you know, queen of the mountain here. But could really go either way. Gotta keep your head down, because Wisps definitely had her number for the majority of, especially those previous two maps there.
Yeah, that was a lot of Wisp just coming up big, and I to be fair, that is kind of all of the value we saw Wisp get. But if you're going to start a fight, just take it immediately to a 4v5. That's an advantage you're willing to push. NYXL, for the most part, did a decent job about conserving that energy and pushing it forward. Sometimes it did take them a little bit longer. They allowed a regroup to come through, which really snowballed against them in City Center. I don't want to see that happen again, especially moving on to a hybrid map where differences like that can mean the end of an entire map. Hollywood has been the selection of the Rift Guardians, which we did get to see a little bit of in the NYXL semifinal of when they played on this map. They pulled out that Junker Queen, and Kindred just looked amazing on it.
Okay, I don't know what this pick is for Hollywood. I don't know why we're I'm looking like Charlie Day with the corkboard right now, because so in the previous series, right, with Timeless Ethereal against NYXL, and even yesterday in their matchup, they would pick Hollywood because they wanted to try and favor the dive compositions, right? Because Hollywood is great for those sorts of things. Neither of these teams have shown a particular preference for a dive composition, and indeed have both tended to prefer to play either Ramatra or Junker Queen when pressed to do so. So I'm curious as to what the reasoning is here for Rift Guardians. Is this a trap? Are they trying to bait NYXL Academy into playing dive? Because that's what it kind of looks like a little bit, because they're showing a defensive Junker Queen composition. NYXL Academy, I mean, again, never trust attack response, but if they come out here with a poke comp, like, I want to see what ends up happening with this kind of situation here. Like, this is all just new. Like, I don't know, like, I can't even fathom.
See,
okay,
your mind can relax. There we go.
All right, yeah, all right. So Junker Queen Mirror. This makes a little bit more sense. But also, if this is what we're going to play, why Hollywood Rift Guardians? I have a lot of questions. I would like to see some answers, and I'm hoping that that Shkesti on the Ashe is going to provide a little bit of insight into why that might be. It might just be a simple case of put your hit scan on the high ground and let her pound.
I mean, that's the only strategy that really comes to my mind here, too. I mean, Shkesti is an amazing hit scan player. Do you want to give her the room to work? Well, there you go. Down goes Orion. Head has been popped. And NYXL Academy, they're not going to get anything done without their Kiriko. We have found the answer to the Rift Guardians question of why Hollywood was picked.
Yeah, if you just put Shkesti up on that cafe high ground where she's currently positioned, NYXL Academy, they don't really have a way to access her, so she really just gets a shooting gallery the whole time unless someone tries to go in, and that's probably going to have to be Bun, and in this case, I think Wicca actually went in there to try and help as well, but Rift Guardians are able to weather the storm so far and just take shelter in the cafe.
Man, they're just vibing out here. Cat's chilling. It's like, oh, you want to say hi? All right, I have a little bit of a gift for you. Here comes Gracie. Get back over here. But down goes Cat. Was having too much fun. Apparently, Orion wasn't having it. NYXL Academy back into the fight. They've dealt with Shkesti here. Not really too many issues for them to come back in. Rift Guardians are going to have to take this back to the second point where these high grounds, yeah, they're better, but where are you really going to split your team up?
That was a great play by NYXL Academy, by the way, to capture that point. Kindred using the commanding shout, Wicca using the speed boost to get everybody positioned on the underside of the cafe and take a small skirmish there that either forced the rest of Rift Guardians to come off of the high ground in order to contest, or back up and give space, and that just let NYXL Academy take the picks and take the kills for free. Now we're going to have a much more difficult jockeying for high ground for NYXL Academy. You can see Rift Guardians already playing up here and waiting for their chance to pounce. The only real way that Kindred has to get up there is to take that same elevator, and I mean, if Rift Guardians just decide that elevator's out of order, I mean, there's no stairs to take this time.
Nope, because they're jumping straight down for the high ground, going skydiving rather. Straight to Kitsune Rush though, which was gonna help him, but Wicca was on point with the sound barrier. Getting that ultimate trade out is going to be big, especially with Wisp falling in the end here, because Chisato will have a much easier time using this Dragon Blade, assuming they will be back for the next fight and Bun doesn't go all sushi chef again here. We'll end up regrouping down to that low ground to help their team clean up. Rift Guardians, they're so split right now. They have the sound barrier out from their own, not going to be able to do much. If Bun is able to live with that dynamite, they'll be burning to a fiery death. And NYXL Academy, they're going to be hitting slight roadblock here.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I agree with investing that Rampage there, because yeah, you did have the majority of Rift Guardians down on the low ground that could be caught out by that, but Janna was able to respond with the sound barrier. It only realistically caught Cat, so they weren't able to focus the enemy Junker Queen down, and now you have this Dragon Blade coming in and nothing to counter it.
Nothing to counter it, but you know what? Carnage is pretty good. You'll take that. The amount of pressure on Chisato. If that's not a Dragon Blade, I don't know what is. It's like, there's not a worse feeling than that target being placed in your back, 5 players with a deadly stare looking at you. It's not a good thing, but I mean, Chisato didn't get anywhere. Spawn has one of their own, and here they go in right now. She's coming out with Vengeance, wants to get more than their Genji counterpart. The deflect forced out early. Beautiful Suzu timing. Look at that. Aramori saved 2 of their players and managed to get full support on the way out. NYXL Academy, huge investment from the Smeevy, but they're coming up with absolutely nothing as a result.
Wisps invest the Bob here. I'm, again, a little puzzled as to what that one is about. Maybe a hero swap coming out. If not, I still want to know what the game plan is here, because you see NYXL Academy, they keep trying to take that elevator to get to the high ground. You have to either do that or force Rift Guardians to play on the low ground and then strike, but you know, they're not really able to successfully do either, and when they think they have an opening, they want to invest in it, but it's just not bearing any fruit. So, you know, what is the game plan here? You have a Kitsune Rush. Is it going to be take the elevator and just Kitsune Rush into the enemy team? Because, you know, there's going to be another Kitsune Rush on the other side that can just clap right back and force you right back onto this low ground now.
And that's the hardest part. This is why dive is so prominent on this map, is because there's just so few ways to access that high ground. NYXL Academy, they're running out of options. They're pushing that payload just to try to force Rift Guardians down, eventually build up a little bit more of that ult charge. The main things they have here, these support ults, are going to tell the story of this fight, specifically these Kitsune rushes. If Chisato doesn't cut off, major extension here. Wanted to find both supports, but gets met with 2 players. The healing is there to keep him alive just for a little bit longer. Chisato has to fight within both of the Kitsune rushes, spikes out on the objective, but Cesti is back with a vengeance. Whips won't be finding her head any longer in this battle. Kindred still decides to commit this rampage in, and that's just going to be enough to turn it around. Jono barely has any help to suffice with. Cat finds themselves way off in the backline. Nothing really to follow up on here. NYXL's persistence, just forcing the point, taking the damage, has bought themselves more time, more distance, and eventually they weather the storm.
And that was the right option. That was the answer to the problem that they were having, is you don't even try to take that high ground, you just circumvent that entirely, push the cart past to the point where Rift Guardians have to drop. Shesti doesn't drop and is able to pick up a kill there, but NYXL Academy are ultimately unfazed as they have the resources to take that fight on the low ground, and they're willing to expend them to get the point here. They have to expend heavily, but you take that for a point cap here. So maybe this fight is a little dry and you try to bleed some of Rift Guardians' resources out here, but if you can continue to force their positioning, you know, you can still make some more ground here, get that cart ever closer to the end.
You'll be satisfied with an econ push if you're NYXL. Rift Guardians, on the other hand, they gotta be careful what they're pulling out here. It's gonna be that rampage to kick us off. Wicco and Kindred's the only ones hit, but Orion, the one to fall. Plenty of value to be gained. That quick reset just with that rampage out. Look what NYXL were able to gain just from taking that dry.
Yeah, you absolutely take that, because now you have both your DPS ultimates out here, and Wicca is, you know, still a little bit of ways away from that sound barrier, but she can do enough work to get that in and match Jono here, and that'll pretty much put us at parity with these 2 teams. So yeah, that one eco push and just getting one ult out is everything, because now, even playing ground, and that's where NYXL Academy, in theory, should be the stronger.
In theory, yes, but they don't have Wisp to start this one out. It's like the tables have been flipped, and Wisp has had a target on their head the whole game hasn't really had a chance to get much done. So the Rift Guardians, they've been able to stabilize along this objective, and we're looking at mirroring Dragon Blades and Sound Barriers ideally used to counter the other outs. Bun getting aggressive, one to cancel it out, but Jono narrowly touches the ground there. Everyone has that overhealth. The Dragon Blade completely negated. Chisato wants to take one for their own turn. Wicca's Sound Barrier, though, didn't end up hitting. There was no shields provided. I'm not entirely sure how that happened, but either way, that Dragon Blade didn't come with anything. We're back to ground zero, but Aramori wants to make this one an even fight, giving that advantage to Rift Guardians just in time so Orion can buy the time. Wait till this expires, and YXL, they're going to push back in right here, right now. They played the patient game. Now it's time to pay it off. Down goes Jono, can't win it, but just too late. No health remaining. You had to go for it there, but you had another contest remaining. Rift Guardians, they just really threw away any chances of a recontest. Coming back in, NYXL Academy, the team kill bell ringing on through. They're marching this payload home. 23 seconds on the clock of a Hollywood completion.
Cat just really trying to go for the Hail Mary play there with that last rampage, but it just gets completely negated, shut down by Kindred, and I don't even know that it would have borne that much fruit again, because I think Orion still had the Suzu. I'm not 100% there, but regardless, NYXL Academy was still at full strength. They had a phenomenal disengage through Aramori's Kitsune Rush, where everyone from NYXL Academy backed up, waited till they were at full strength, and then struck with their Kitsune Rush, then came through with their Rampage after Aramori had nothing that could have been, that was available. Jono falls, everyone else starts to bleed out, and Cat is forced behind the 8-ball, where the trigger has to be pulled. You either go for that Hail Mary play and try and make something happen, or you end up just giving up the point. And they do end up giving up the point with 23 seconds. That's not the end of the world if you're Rift Guardian. Something I like to talk about a lot on hybrid maps is how these overtime rounds can shake out. If Rift Guardians are able to capture at all, even in OT, we do get extra innings. It's one of the cool things about hybrid that, makes for those crazy comebacks here. And the way Rift Guardians are playing, I wouldn't completely rule that out. They seem to be, at least on equal footing with NYXL Academy in terms of this Junker Queen mirror composition. And I really have to give props to Cat for showing up. It didn't appear that way in that last fight, but again, they had really no other option but to try and use that ult, because you saw, they swapped to the Doomfist for the contest anyway. You weren't going to get another chance to use that Rampage effectively.
There was really nothing that could have been done at that point. You had to give it your best shot, but here you are now. Fresh start, completely at zero. Rift Guardians wanting to push in. We see the same issue with Wisp now on that high ground. Ideally, the main target of focus for Chisato, just to distract for Kajurtsi to land those shots off the back of it. It's going to be a slow engage in here to find that little poke, fade out those cooldowns, to find that optimal moment. Nobody really willing to peek their head around the corner, fearing what Wisp is going to be able to do.
Yeah, and it's the same setup before, where you have Wisps on that high ground. It's just, we've Uno reverse carded each other, and now the offense is on the defense. But one thing has not changed. The more they change, the more they stay the same. Wisps getting the early pick up there on Deshesti, and that means Rift Guardians, they don't want any more. They want out.
It's seriously, you're waiting for that little green button to be pressed, and everybody's like, all right, it's go time, full send it on in. And this is the value that you're going to see. Look at the difference in ult charge between Wisp and Cersei right now.
And the crazy thing to me also is the fact that NYXL Academy even gave Rift Guardians the blueprint on their own attack for how to beat this. It's just, Rift Guardians didn't really have their notepads out, and they haven't really been able to do that. And not only that, you have Kindred just locking down the fort here, completely stopping that point of ingress. So Rift Guardians, they're having to scratch their heads and think, okay, do we try and go around the alleyway? Do we try and take the high ground? What do we do? How do we deny this high ground that Wisps has so you can stop being so oppressive from up there?
And it's all about these angles. It's so difficult to have to attack onto this, and Rift Guardians, they're at a disadvantage in terms of the ultimate economy. That's going to be the Rampage in, but the Suzu only hits Aramori, which is not enough for Rift Guardians to weather that storm. Somehow the Bobbies ends up being the real hero of that fight. NYXL Academy, they use a decent amount there, but just enough to hold on.
Yeah, I will absolutely trade a Rampage and a Bob in order for having all of your other ultimates out here, still having the ult advantage. Aramori investing that Kitsune Rush and not getting much of anything is the more worrying thing here, because again, Rift Guardians are the ones that have to make a move here, and NYXL Academy, if they continue to take the initiative, which the Kitsune Rush allows you to do, then, again, Rift Guardians, what do? How do you respond? You have to play more reactively than you want to when you're on the offense.
And the only thing that I can think of here that would allow them to initiate would be that Dragon Blade. If they can get that off before Wither gets his final percentage of their sound barrier, I mean, this could be really something for Chishato just to go in. She can take the advantage, but not before Wisp does it themselves. Chishato has to make something happen out of this, but these boots, the Suzus, are not the Genshi's best friend. Sound barrier's there, but is it too little too late? Chishato has fallen. Rift Guardians have no players left on their feet as Bun has taken them all down a size. Rift Guardians, they have one more minute to make something happen.
And we were talking about Wicca's beat. What about Jono's? Jono also used the sound barrier and it wasn't able to counteract Bun's Dragon Blade. So again, NYXL Academy, they have the Kitsune Rush. They can still be the aggressors here. You know, yeah, they have the, Rift Guardians have the Bob and the Rampage here, but this is where we're starting to look at potentially an OT cap, if at all.
They have to make it happen here. It's gonna be that Kitsune Rush in early from Orion, but Kindred's the only one hit with that Rampage. No Suzu available. This is the best shot the Rift Guardians have had at locking down this objective so far. They made that switch to the Mei CB. We didn't see it at the beginning of the fight, but Chisato is here locking down these angles. It makes it so much more difficult for the re-engage to come in. Cat is not letting anybody in this room. That is the Cat's territory, and the Rift Guardians have now unlocked that payload. NYXL Academy, they're gonna take this one to the next step.
I do really like the Mace swap, but yeah, it's not gonna be worth it on point B. So I like the Tracer swap as well. These are some great plays coming out from Chisato now, and that's what ultimately does unlock the point for Rift Guardians. So now we're at that same situation where NYXL Academy can control the high ground, and Rift Guardians again have to be the ones to dislodge them. But I think the Tracer is gonna be a lot better than the Ashe and the Genji that we were seeing before, because Tracer can kind of zip around, use the elevators from either side, go for an early flank here.
But do you even need that? I mean, Bun got punished on their flank, but that pick from Kindred is infinitely more valuable here. Yeah, Rift Guardians, they lost that frontline battle, and I think that's the one disadvantage they're going to find with running the Tracer is that they're taking these 4v5 in the front.
You said Bun got punished. I would have said Bunished, but that's just because I'm more cringe than you. But regardless,
just a little bit.
Regardless, NYXL Academy were able to find the early pickoffs that ended up making that not even really worth it. Bun is going to be back in the fight and able to access the high ground again and be with the rest of her team to strike with this Rampage that Kindred does have. So whenever Rift Guardians fall into that trap, it's going to be sprung, and you've got to look at Aramori to be the one with the counter.
Aramori, as this Kitsune Rush wasn't able to get the value out of it last time, though. We need to see that change next. Aramori is going to be the one to set this pace through. There's not a lot of time for Rift Guardians to make something happen, and NYXL, they got the high ground under lock. You're taking damage just through the point, keeping them distracted, inching this payload forward, just meter by meter. Once you see these drops start to come through, that's when you're going to find that opening, but then again, Sursti goes down almost immediately. Wisp has been on point whenever they're on the defense. That high ground advantage has been simply too much for Shesti to handle. Rift Guardians, they're down a player, a minute remaining, and Aramori decides now is the go button. 4v5 here to make it happen, but NYXL Academy, they have ultimates galore, holding onto the back line, that sound barrier negates any extra damage coming on in. Rush is the name of the game here as Kindred strikes at full swing, backing off after the hit of the Rampage, but this isn't going to be enough for them to go through. Guardians, they've expended all of their major resources. Jono using the sound barrier. Oh no! Cat is gone. There's nothing to be gained here. CB, that was their last chance.
Yeah, and they don't even try to take a fight because there's no time to do it. By the way, NYXL Academy, they know what Rift Guardians are trying to do. They're trying to do the same thing that NYXL Academy did on their attack, where they just push the point and force everyone off the high ground. But Kindred is able to stay down there and prevent them from doing so, be a nuisance, and force Rift Guardians to expend resources. And that's when NYXL Academy jump down on top of them and take that low ground fight. You can see right now they're just going to go ahead and let them push it a little bit further, but now it's time to expend, and now it's time to use this ult bank to just win.
All of the Qs were pressed. All of them. Rift Guardians, they can't match it. No Cat on the field. They're not going to be able to pounce on the opponents. And NYXL Academy, they're coming back with a vengeance, CB. Second place isn't enough for them. They're making the push for the win. They are making a name for themselves here in the Calling All Heroes circuit, all the way up to match point in the 2 maps that we've had seen play so far. And I gotta say, they are looking deadly and dangerous out on the battlefield.
Kindred looks so confident right now. She is just locking down any potential point of anger that Rift Guard wants to take, whether it's in the Junker Queen mirror or in the Rock mirror. Case may be, Guardians simply cannot rotate, they cannot make progress unless they go through Kindred. She is the guardian of the Guardians. Just feels and my in order to keep her alive and force Guardians to counter-invest to make her unalive. It hasn't been successful. And again, we go back to that situation where it's like, you know, we have Wisps on the high ground versus Shesti on the high ground. Well, NYXL Academy, they just circumvent the high ground altogether, and Shesti's not able to get any pickoffs. Whereas, you know, Rift Guardians aren't able to do that to the same extent. They're not able to make effective use of the commanding shouts. They're not able to be as strong and as confident in their Junker Queen play to make those sorts of plays. So Wisps just continues to have a shooting gallery where they can constantly hit these headshots, shut down Shesti, and pretty much take away Rift Guardians' plan A. I like the plan Bs that they're coming out with, though. I like the Mei swaps. I like some of the Genji play that we're seeing. Some of the blades could use a little bit of work here, and the timing on some of these sound barriers and other ult investments still need to be shaped up here. But for how strong of a Swiss stage this team has, this Rift Guardian squad has had, I expect them to come back with something. I expect them to have an ace up their sleeve at some point in time.
This is a team that's gone undefeated. They haven't lost a single match in this circuit, which is pretty crazy to say. I honestly, that's just awesome from them to be able to pull this out, and seeing them struggle here against a team they have already beaten, mind you. NYXL Academy, they're here at full strength. They really took the tempo into their own hands. You were talking about it too, CB, about how they weren't getting value. Rift Guardians, they couldn't get the value out of their ultimates. They couldn't get the value out of the pushes they were making because NYXL, they were the initiators, whether it was on attacks or defense. It was constant reaction time going on that attacking side, and Rift Guardians, they couldn't match it. And that's just a huge tempo thing in the game of Overwatch that if you don't have control over, you're not able to play your own game, and you're just at such a deficit the whole time. You need to hope that heading to a new map, getting a fresh start, they are able to flip this around. We questioned that Hollywood pick at the very beginning of this series, and I really started to question it once again. You put the eggs into the basket of Shesti to come up big on the hit scan, couldn't get it done, so they're taking it here back to Havana with the Ramatra gameplay to hopefully win this one back out.
I think I kind of like this pick, though. I think if you try to play the poke composition and force maybe more of a poke mirror, you can maybe give Shesti a chance to make a comeback and be the one that starts to lead the charge for you. But that said, you know, Kindred is also very strong on the Sigma. I'm aware that she has some other really strong tanks up her sleeve. We might see some Ramatra rush or some close spawn holds, and we did see that same thing early on in Oasis, so it's entirely plausible that, you know, this ends up being the hill that that Rift Guardians die on here. They're behind the 8-ball. They have to make a play right now, and Havana, I think, is a good pick, but it can also be a shaky pick. It's going to depend on how NYXL Academy react to this newfound information.
We saw how they played on it. Rift Guardians, they pulled out the Ramatra. They had the Mei in for some bits. This was about getting the rush, allowing Cat to create that space. And of course, Shesti went absolutely ham on the Hanzo. I want to see that come back out here. That is my thought behind picking this map. Is you're returning to old habits. You found something that worked. This is where they have found their success. Rift Guardians, it is now that they need to make something happen. They are down on match point. NYXL Academy, they've tasted blood in the water. They are hungry for this victory, CB. They want it here. They want it now. And we don't have an idea of what they're going to pull out in this map. We've seen several looks from them that could come out, and it all honestly is going to amount to our Rift Guardians expecting what they're about to have thrown at them.
Yeah, and I gotta hope that this is part of... So, okay, going back to... sorry for my slurred speech here. I'm thinking like a mile per minute trying to analyze like what this Havana pick means. I think that their inability to make some of those rotations kind of goes back to NYXL Academy's confidence in the Junker Queen composition and their confidence in Kindred, like I was saying. And the lack of confidence from Rift Guardians in that composition means that they want to try and put their eggs into something that they are confident in, so they feel like they can be in the driver's seat. And, you know, again, we saw how strong they were in the previous matchup. We know that they do have a lot of faith in Shesti's ability to pound if given the space to do so. And they have a lot more faith in their ability to play the compositions like the Ramatra or like the Sigma Poke that might give them the ability to do that. So again, I like this, but they're being able to be proactive with this sort of composition, I'm hoping. Otherwise, we might be looking at a 3-0, and that's kind of scary. Like, yeah. And it also comes back to, like, Wisps. Is Wisps just the better hit scan right now? Like, that is also another possibility we might be facing down. It might be that even if you're putting your eggs into the Shesty basket, it might not get you the win because maybe Wisps is just that strong right now. Maybe today is Wisps day and we all need to be celebrating because the shots they have been hitting are phenomenal, and it goes back to the way that the entire team is playing, but that's still Wisps showing up at the moments when it counts. It's what we saw from Shesty, and it's what we need to see from her again. Is this pick what is going to get them that?
It has to be. There's no other chance after this one. This is the last map pick that Rift's Guardians will be able to have from this point on. They're looking at a reverse sweep, which that is not an easy thing to accomplish.
Yeah.
Just even being at this point from a mental aspect, you're not feeling good. You just went down 2-0, two of which were on your own map picks. I mean, this was supposed to be your time to pick what the composition was, control the different areas that you like, play to what you've practiced. You've been shut down on both. This is your third and last shot at being able to have that bit of say on which direction that series is taking.
I will say, though, sorry to cut you off, but so when you said reverse sweep, it just activated my neurons, and I remembered a conversation I had last night where I was like, okay, Rift Guardians and Whiplash went at it off stream, and Whiplash was up 2-0. Rift Guardians reverse swept them.
They did.
It's something that they have proven that they are capable of doing. And if you remember, Whiplash was another really strong Junker Queen team. So maybe it's not only just what they're trying to do in the previous series, maybe they believe that they can do what they did against Whiplash in order to get that win there. You know, obviously that matchup wasn't on stream, and we only had the stream, the Calling All Heroes admins to report the scores to us. So we saw the score line in the chat, and I talked to some of the players after the fact. So I have a general idea of how they did it, to like a very vague and abstract sense, but it's something that they're capable of doing. So if this is the game plan, if this is the blueprint, and they'd want to reverse sweep again, and it starts here, I have faith that they're capable to do it. It looks like both teams are going to try and go for Ramatra compositions here, with NYXL Academy going for the close hold here. And it's going to be up to Rift Guardians to try and crack this, but Shesty is definitely capable of hitting some of these opening shots that might just throw a spanner into the works for NYXL Academy and force them to give some ground here.
The reason Rift Guardians won this map last time was because of Shesty and Kat working together to just walk on through their opponents, and NYXL Academy, they're taking a play out of their own book into the spawn hold and already not off to a splendid start here. The body block from Kindred, oh, that is just brutal. Ouch.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not off to a great start, but, you know, Rift Guardians, that's whatever. You take that one on the chin. You know, you still have time to mount a sizable offense here, try and find a pickoff, but the more these walls section players off and the more you're becoming victims of your own walls and the body blocks from Kindred, the more time is going to burn off the clock here. That's a great wall to start things off if they're able to finish off Kindred, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to.
No, I mean, Kindred has been walled off so many times that the focus fire hasn't been there, and it is on the side of NYXL Academy. They're locking this down, getting decent success out of this spawn hold, and they're actually going to have those ultimates up to continue this further.
And I think they understand the assignment is that the easiest way to crack this defense is to get a headshot with the Hanzo or find an Icicle, and if you just simply don't give either of the DPS players an angle to do that, it will not happen. So yeah, they're happy to put all this eggs in this Ramatra versus Ramatra with the walls to try and section it off, form a little, you know, impromptu boxing ring for the two of them, because that takes time for that to play out, whereas a pick would just be instantaneous and suddenly the door would be wide open.
And they gotta find that opening soon. I mean, look, these May walls, they've been isolating so incredibly well. The Dragon Strike didn't buy the space he wanted to, so NYXL Academy, they're rushing back in with the Blizzard. That only manages to catch one. The Ramatra ult still ends up hitting. This is Kat's opening, finally getting those eliminations to come up. It was an expensive battle from them. For Rift Guardians, they're just happy to be able to exit from their own spawns, explore some more pieces of Havana.
The good news here, though, is that you're able to hold on to both support ultimates, so they can try and use this amplification matrix early to try and section off NYXL Academy and force some positioning to make it risky for them to try and engage from the angles that they want to play at to bleed more time off the clock here. If you're Rift Guardians, you have 2 minutes to try and build up to something else that can net you the fight here, and you have to find an answer for Kindred's annihilation. So that's your assignment. Do you understand? Are you able to accomplish this? Let's find out.
That focus fire, it needs to be on point, or you have to be willing to commit this sound barrier, something to stop this from happening. It's actually made the sound barrier for NYXL Academy, but too little too late as their DPS have fallen, losing their respective duels. Rift's Guardians, they're coming out to play. Once they've gained that momentum, they're starting to snowball this one on forwards.
And a great way to counter Kindred's Annihilation is to make it far too costly for her to pull the trigger. Wicca, unfortunately, does invest the sound barrier, but I guess because Jono does as well, you're kind of okay with that, though you would like to have that in the event that Chisato gets a little bit more work done and builds up that Blizzard. Regardless, though, Rift Guardians are able to capture point A, and that is absolutely massive, and they have a pretty decent time bank to work through the distillery here. Again, that Annihilation is still in play on the field, and kind of has to be the thing we focus in on. How does Kindred use it? Is she going to be given a chance to use it? And is that just what NYXL Academy want to engage with here?
Yeah, I want to see Kindred use it here because these walls, now that you've baited them out, you basically have this free quarters ruling at this point. Nirvana is going to be big, but the focus fire's there. Look how low Kindred ended up falling. Everybody on Rift Guardians is holding that S key with a passion, and it ended up working out. Kindred got shredded through the backline. That is Rift Guardians coming up with the shutdown necessary, and NYXL failing to compromise on their win conditions.
That's also a phenomenal Dragon Strike from Chesty there that ends up punishing the overcommitment from NYXL Academy. Everybody from Rift Guardians disengaged from that Annihilation, played back, use the Immortality, use the walls, use the shield, use everything you can to put the distance there and bait Kindred into the trap, and then it's sprung. There comes the Dragon Strike, everyone falls. Now Chisato with the Blizzard though, but Wisps.
Oh, Wisp manages to catch out the Mei. The follow-up isn't there, but thankfully Wisp, the only one frozen, is able to kind of slide down that staircase like a little water slide out there. It's going to be okay to fight another day, but Bun certainly not. This is Jersey. This is she coming back up. We needed to see her start to pop off, hit these shots on the Hanzo. Hasn't been done so far, but actually gets caught up by Wisp, striking right back, blow for blow, matching what their opponent was able to come out with. NYXL Academy narrowly managed to hold on to the second point.
And if we go back to the early fight where the Dragon Strike was invested, that ended up letting Rift Guardians take the high ground and take the forward positioning, but with that one arrow from Wisp, it's now taken away. Chesty was no longer able to hold that, no longer able to be a threat, and now NYXL Academy have this oppressive high ground that Rift Guardians have to dislodge them from. They have an Annihilation of their own, but they have to get Cat up there, and I mean, I know cats love to climb and they love to jump, but you gotta be able to get them up there to pop this ult, and you also have to worry about the Blizzard coming out from Bun.
There's so many things right now for NYXL Academy to be able to put this one to bed, and Bun wants to be the one to initiate early. This Blizzard isolating this choke would be huge, but I think Rift Guardians, they've identified that fact. They're not willing to push through that point. Cat wants to get up to this high ground after getting so rudely knocked off the back. It's knocked up again!
Nope.
Wicca just says, nope, yeah, nope,
Listen,
not
me,
today.
bad, off the counter, no, stop knocking things over, get off.
Bad cat, get off. I mean, the amount of times I have to tell my cat that, I literally have a water pistol on my desk right now. Every time my cat shuts up here, no, get down, shoot. That's exactly the experience the cat just got.
I have a spray bottle. I feel like a water pistol is a little bit too aggressive here. Speaking of aggression here, though, Rift Guardians are going to need to have some of it. That's a great wall dissection off Kindred, but Cat actually wants to sneak right through the crack there and pop the Annihilation.
Moving right up on, finding that little opening that's necessary, but Cat is getting focused down heavily. The sound barrier had to be invested just to offer a little bit of barrier in between. Nice body block coming up through the Mei, but does Cat have enough health to sustain? This block is coming in big, 60% damage mitigation. It's going to be enough, but now the Macho ultimate from Kindred coming on the other side. Want to annihilate the opponents, but completely zoned off. NYXL Academy, they're committing heavily into this CB, but somehow, some way, Rift Guardians have managed to hold on to their lives and even grab Orion off the back of it. Chisato making these final last seconds of the second objective count to give them that little extra boost to push through these final gates. Beautiful play here from Rift Guardians. What a way to hold on.
Yeah, and Kindred, when she pops that Annihilation, there's just too much pressure on her that she can't push forward to make any use out of it. So Rift Guardians, they're comfortable to just disengage a little bit. That's a beautiful wall to just stop the contest here. That's an easy point B cap here for Rift Guardians. You'll love to see it. They're still in the fight here, but now there's going to be a real close fight here because Kindred wants revenge for that last play.
Kindred is already up here, but getting isolated, and that Nemesis form is about to expire. Has to get back to the team quickly to be able to reset, keep their life. NYXL Academy doing the right thing by opting for a close hold, but ideally they have to find a way in here. Bund is going to come up with that win condition of that Blizzard here shortly, but holding on for a little longer, taking the time to build up that ultimate charge. This neutral game is so incredibly important at the time we are currently at.
Wicca,
Kindred
though,
finding them right in the back, but Wicca doing the damage. Just we're getting nothing with that Hanzo. Everyone else trapped between a rock and a Ramatra here. Not getting anywhere too far fast. NYXL Academy, they've locked it down, but Rift Guardians, they're coming back with a vengeance.
That's a lot of aggression to go in to try and clean up Aramori there, and that's going to end up buying them some time. And now we're at a spawn hold situation here. Yeah, so everybody who dies on Rift Guardians, sure, the spawn point is right there, but NYXL Academy didn't lose anything, and they gained everything. Look at their ult economy. It's going to be quite the uphill battle for Rift Guardians to get out of their spawn here. I hope they brought their climbing shoes, or this might be where the cart stops.
Oh, this is going to be so hard. This point, they've got at least 2 more fights they have to pull out, but they first got to start with winning the one at hand, breaking through that spawn hold. They have the tools to do it, but NYXL, they have more, and Kindred is out for blood, marching into the spawn. Sketchy didn't know what was coming. Kindred fights another one, just out of the pure aggression. Suddenly, Cat finds herself all lonely, no friends left to keep her alive. This is where the payload is going to stop. Nice spawn hold from NYXL Academy, stabilizing at the very end. Rift Guardians, they gotta take it for what they've got, because that win condition has been set.
The cart stopping there presents a pretty sizable problem for Rift Guardians, because they can hold on point A and they can hold on point B, but you no longer really have the space for Shesti to be able to play that long sightline that you get on point C of Havana that can make her that oppressive presence that they were really hoping to have on their defense here. So now when NYXL Academy, if they push through point C, it's going to have to be a similar spawn hold in order to stay alive. And I don't know if I like Rift Guardians' close range brawl game. I like their poke composition, and I like the way that they're able to play when Shesti's able to hit these headshots from distance, but it's really only Chisato that's able to win the close range game, and we haven't really seen quite enough of that. We're not really putting Chisato in situations where that's the beneficial play more often than not. So Rift Guardians, they're going to have to bleed a ton of time off here with the spawn hold that, of course, NYXL Academy know is going to be coming. And not only that, they have to try and get a point A or point B shut down here. They can't let them cap point B, or NYXL Academy, they just take this.
They do. I mean, this is something that Rift Guardians, they picked this map. They have the confidence that they can succeed, and I think a lot of that is going to stem from here on this defense. How is this spawn hold really going to pan out from them? NYXL Academy, they know what's coming. It's a play from their own book at this rate. Chisato, though, doesn't get that wall off in quite the way they want it without that cooldown in play. Kindred decides it's their time to walk in, try to find this opening, but Skeshti has locked down their main source of damage into the spawn. So there's not a lot of pick potential on their side. Rift Guardians took heavy advantage of that, are going to win this first battle out, and this is Chisato getting that room that we needed them to have, CB.
Yeah, Wicca, I mean, also almost got some kills there. Had she gotten that kill onto Chisato there, that might have been the end of this hold here, but Rift Guardians able to cling on by the skin of their teeth there and keep this going, continue to bleed more time. We bled about a minute off. We need to do that again in order to match what NYXL Academy did on their defense here. The longer these fights go, the more it's going to benefit Rift Guardians, though. So even if they don't get early picks, that's great, but getting picked early is awful.
Yo, that's terrible for Rift Guardians. Their force is crumbling here on their spawn hold. They're just gonna have to give it up. Take down as many as they can with them, but in the end, you're gonna have to forfeit this positioning. It didn't turn out as terribly as it could have, getting a good minute 15 off the clock. Not bad at all.
Kindred beat Cat to the annihilation. Despite being oppressed in the spawn that entire time, Kindred was able to get more work done than Cat and build up to that annihilation faster. I don't know if Rift Guardians are going to have scouted that out yet and might not be aware that she has that tool. It's likely they know Bun has the Blizzard and they need to try and do some work to build up to the sound barrier to counter that, but they're not going to give them the time. Bun, she wants to go in now.
Talk about an element of surprise. Nobody checked the radar today because there's a blizzard up there, Rift Guardians. NYXL Academy completely caught them by surprise. Thought they had the high ground locked down, but Bun is just gonna go ahead single-handedly take NYXL to another fight win.
The good news, though, is Rift Guardians don't invest in that, and there is still time for one more push here because they took that fight so early. They just have to get someone in with a touch. The bad news is that Jono was the last one to fall, and that's likely the easiest touch that you're going to get. So Rift Guardians, it's going to be tight, but they have to try and go in here. It looks like everyone's ready to go, and they're about to pounce on it. It's time to go.
There's the go button. There's that Blizzard locked up. Kindred didn't get the Sound Mirror. Beautiful Maywall to block that off. Getting the end of the Ramatra. No annihilation to be seen. Rift Guardians perfectly countered that out, but they need to continue to carry it forwards because NYXL, it seems they still want to commit into this. Sound Mirror was laid down from Wicca, both support ultimates and the Dragon Strike. CB, what just happened for NYXL Academy?
I mean, they just got hit with a haymaker out of nowhere. I don't think they were ready for Rift Guardians to come out of the gate swinging that hard and that fast, and for them to invest as heavily as they did. And this is starting to get a little bit scary here because this is where the cart is very far away from the spawn, and now the spawn advantage is a little bit more in favor of Rift Guardians. They can really start to dig their heels in here. They only really have a Dragon Strike to do it, and Kindred is going to have the Annihilation, so ult-wise, you favor NYXL Academy, but an early pickoff from Shesty, or indeed isolating with this Dragon Strike and finding a pickoff onto Wicca or Kindred would be phenomenal.
You gotta find this one out, but Kindred is able to get the ultimate, needed that extra armor to keep themselves sustained, but there's Aramori, the hero of the day! That Ant Matrix is able to shred through that Ramatra ultimate. You don't have to worry about it, but Rift Guardians, they're fighting in a 4v3 battle, and especially with Bun nearing a Blizzard of their own, this is gonna be tricky. Jono laid down the Sound Mirror, providing that extra health to Cat, wants to weather the storm, but unable to escape the frosty grasp of Bun, absolutely destroying any hope Rift Guardians had of getting the full point. Oh, they were so close, CB, but NYXL Academy were just too strong to be stopped.
You've heard the phrase a day late and a dollar short, but Jono was like a day early and having too many dollars, I guess. Decided to pop the sound barrier before the Blizzard from Bun came out, so she was just able to mop up with that ultimate. I liked the sound barrier for a split second, but once that Blizzard came out in response, I was like, oh no here. Good news is, again, Rift Guardians are going to be able to control this high ground and take the fight here and not give it up to NYXL Academy for free. So this is where Shesty might have some angles to try and find some headshots. Chisato might be able to find a Blizzard, and indeed that's what they're going to go in with, but Chisato falls trying to cast it.
You gotta find the shots on that. Thankfully, you have somebody named Shesty, and she is her on the Hanzo, able to clean up the house, compensate for the loss of the Mei. And you know what, NYXL Academy, I think they're okay with taking that loss here.
Yeah, I mean, and they're going to have the amplification matrix, but they don't really have a position that they can reliably put it down to pressure Rift Guardians and take any positioning here, because Rift Guardians have the oppressive high ground, and they have the ability for Cat to stay here on the low ground and continually pressure the rest of NYXL Academy out, and unless they can section them off and take Cat down with a Maywall, not quite like that Maywall. There's not really a way to dislodge them.
But they got to the high ground, CB! You were questioning where that Ant Matrix could. It was a surprise attack. Orion managed to walk their way up to the heights. NYXL Academy wrapped around, forced the positioning off Rift Guardians. That Maywall really just left them confused. They didn't recover in time, and here they are again. NYXL Academy, they got the positioning advantage.
That's kind of the one drawback to having Cat playing on the low ground there, because you don't have the Ramatra to be on the high ground to bully NYXL Academy back, so they can just say, no, we don't really want to play with you right now, Cat. And they can, yeah, like you said, just wrap around on the high ground, pop the Ant Matrix, and force Rift Guardians positioning that way. And now they have an ult advantage to jam this cart into point B. Rift Guardians, they have to find something to make a stand here, because this is where NYXL Academy can just win it outright if they get this cap.
They really can. They have to find that win condition. It has to be shutting Wisp down, not allowing that Overclock to come up with any value off on the back end. Looks like they're able to kite it in the small room, but they're down in health, but able to survive. Sound Mirror in play, letting them escape. Wisp has fallen. NYXL Academy, they're running on fumes right now. They need to bust it up. Several ultimates, several Qs have been pressed to clean the floor. If they can get this point capture here, this could be big. Cat had to come up with an extra annihilation, but suddenly they're still down in numbers. The commitment was there, CB. They knew this could potentially be the last fight, but NYXL did as well. They're taking it. They're going to grab it in overtime. Now the question is, can Rift Guardians get there in time?
Just barely, but the problem is Cat was the last to die.
No.
Your tank is not there. There is not enough presence. Kindred can just march forward, and Rift Guardians won't have any chance to contest. Cat has to swap to the Wrecking Ball to try and get from the far star spawn to this golden box of victory. These precious few seconds where the cart hasn't started moving yet, that's Rift Guardians' entire lifeline. They have to make something happen right now. There's no more time.
They don't have time and they don't have her on mantra. Cat had to be forced to move to the Wrecking Ball just to have a tank here in this final shot. DeSoto, Blizzard chucked into the backline, which is huge! Gets rid of the mantra. That Ant Matrix isn't going to find any value, but everyone's able to live another day. It was too early. You're right, CB. The Rift Guardians, that was the only card they had left to play. Now all they're doing is relying on the stall to come through, but Wisp and Bud have shut it down at the Bud. Nothing left to be shown from the Guardians of the Wisp. NYXL Academy, they have the payload under blocks 3 meters separating them from their own victory. That championship is in sight. They have to get through the stall, get rid of the Wrecking Ball, get rid of the Tracer coming in. These players flying at all angles, but NYXL Academy, they have done it. They have proved the doubters wrong, and here they are, champions of the Calling All Heroes Recall Minor 1.
Back-to-back 3-0s on the day and taking the championship, taking the crown, your Loadscreen Recall Minor 1 champions, NYXL Academy. That is how you make a statement. That is how you make a redemption arc happen. This is just the start, honestly, for this squad. With the circuit points they're going to get from this, they will almost certainly take first place overall going forward in the rest of the Calling All Heroes tournaments. But even just today, we don't even have to think long term. Let's just look at the right now. This team is the right now. They are going to be feeling themselves. They are bouncing back in a major way. And oh my lord, when it comes to the next major, they better be ones that you watch out for.
They have hit the grind, CB. You can tell. Not only did they beat the previous champion, the one who shut them down, Timeless, in the semifinals, they came in, they had the confidence to come out big today. Here they are, 3-0 against Rift's Guardians. Even a comeback from them. They have proved everyone wrong who has ever doubted them in the Calling All Heroes scene, and this is such an important victory for this team to be able to pull out here today. And, you know, we've talked so much about how these players individually come together, but as a whole, as a team, when they were on the same page, they truly proved that they are the better squad out there, and it all started with Kindred. Look at the statistics coming out from the damage side. While it was very close on both ends, there was just some things that could not be countered out, and it really ended up harming Rift Guardians. They couldn't get the recovery that they were hoping for. The reverse sweep shut down, unable to happen.
And I like the Havana pick for Rift Guardians. I thought that really gave them a chance to play to their strengths, but it seemed like when the chips were down, when the fights were at their most even, is when NYXL just proved to be the best. These stats aren't real. This one's false. I know Kindred did a lot more than 0 damage.
It's on Reinhardt. The 23 seconds of Reinhardt that they played.
As Reinhardt, okay.
Running back from the spot.
That's it. I was about to say, like, okay. All right. Wow, Kindred, these are rookie numbers. Step this up. 0 damage on Reinhardt. Come, I know you're better than that.
Unacceptable.
Yeah, Kindred is phenomenal. Wickham, I love. She did a phenomenal job on the Lucio. I know we didn't get to see any of her stats, but the rest of NYXL Academy, they have stepped it up. They have identified some of the flaws that kind of hindered them in the past and only netted them a runner-up position in the previous major, and they have ironed it all out, and they looked dominant today. Yeah. Not just in this, but a 3-0 against the reigning champions, previously reigning champions, Timeless Ethereal. 3-0 against them, going right into a 3-0 against Rift Guardians, a team that, again, was undefeated in the Swiss stage, had a phenomenal Swiss stage, dropping very few maps across the board. I don't know if they lost any maps aside from the ones they lost to Whiplash yesterday, but you can see why. You can see the strengths of this Rift Guardians team. NYXL beat them and made it look easy. They made, Kindred, kind of bullied Cat, took their lunch money. Cat owes Kindred lunch money at this point in time because at the end, all Cat really had was IOUs left to give her. So, I love to see it. You know, I have a lot of friends on this team. I'm a little biased, I have to say. I love NYXL Academy. I'm glad to see them doing well. I'm glad to see them winning 3-0. I'm glad to see them dominating, and I hope to see more of it going forward.
I know this has been such a great series to watch, not only just in the grand finals, but also throughout the tournament circuit. We're not done just yet, though. We are going to have a winner's interview coming up from NYXL Academy. We're going to go ahead, get that set up, and we'll be right back with you just after this break.
Hi, this is Bailey from the Overwatch League. I also go by Pizza Penguin online, and I am a transgender woman who goes by she, they pronouns. I work on the Overwatch League Path to Pro, and I help lead Calling All Heroes. For me, when I first got involved in competitive Overwatch, I didn't even know it existed. I've been playing Overwatch for about 4 years or so, or maybe 3, but I had no idea that competitive Overwatch existed until I randomly got asked, hey Bailey, wanna go to a scrim? And I was like, what's a scrim? And I then participated in a scrim for my collegiate team. It was awesome. I had so much fun. To me, that was the best Overwatch I've ever played. My first scrim, I had a blast, and it just set this passion, this fire alight in my heart for competitive Overwatch and team environments. It just adds so much for everyone, and it's just an incredible experience that I think everyone should be able to feel that they can belong in and take part of. And to me, that's why I think Calling All Heroes is so important, is that not everyone's comfortable being part of every single esports program, just due to a variety of factors. Especially members of the marginalized gender identity don't normally feel comfortable participating in our main competitive circuits, and I understand why that is. So I'm just so glad that Calling All Heroes exists, because it gives people this place where they are comfortable to engage, to participate, and to compete. It's so cool that this exists and that people continue to use it.
And welcome back to the Calling All Heroes Recall Minor 1 event. We have crowned our first champion of the minor event. NYXL Academy are taking home the gold today. It was such a beautiful match to watch and a wonderful story behind this team. They're claiming one of their first major victories in the Calling All Heroes Sing. And we have with us Kindred, the stellar tank player from the NYXL Academy team, here with us today. What's the vibe? What's the feels going on right now after such an incredible win?
It feels good not to drop a single map in playoffs. That was my dream, and it came true.
Easy enough. I mean, full disclosure, again, I was a little biased. We're friends. I have a lot of friends on your team, so it feels good to see you guys not drop a map and play so strongly. It feels good also to see some of the noticeable improvements to your team overall. Is that just because we're in a meta where your signature Junker Queen is so very strong, or is there something else? Is there something else that's changed? Something in the water that's made NYXL Academy so much stronger?
I think the meta definitely fits us like insane because we have players that all have experience with this composition and like with these characters, and also just picking up Orion was a big help as long as us getting a lot of practice on this patch, especially. It's been a lot of really good scrims too. We've made really good practice, and we use our time efficiently.
It is definitely wonderful to see the turnaround. The changes are very noticeable. I can definitely tell. Like, it's almost like it's a new team, but it's mostly the same players. Bringing on Orion is been a big help, but it also just kind of looks more like you guys are feeling yourself a little bit more, and that's awesome. Is there anything that you do want to say to the runners up for this tournament, Rift Guardians? I know there were a couple points in time where this match looked like it was threatening to be a lot closer than it ended up being. Do you have anything you want to say to Kat, the other tank player, or anyone else on that squad?
I've known their tank player for like at least 5 years, so they're a pretty good friend of mine. So I was happy to play against them and also get my revenge, and as well as HQ. HQ's been one of my friends and teammates for a long time. So I love them, and I'm very happy with how they performed and how I performed against them as well.
I love all these friendly rivalries that we're getting out here, honestly. I mean, I love how tight-knit that this community really is in the Overwatch scene. And having the chance to have you guys out here on the Calling All Heroes broadcast has been absolutely wonderful. I know I've absolutely loved to cast you guys. And CB, I bet you could say the same as well.
100%. I love casting, casting for my friends, and like you said, this whole community is very tight-knit. So yeah, getting to see NYXL Academy, a team where I've got a ton of friends popping off, seeing them do well means a lot to me. And again, congratulations, Kindred, for giving me something to watch, giving me some entertainment, being the ones to pop off and the ones to show your redemption arc, showing how things start.
No problem. It was very fun.
Well, you know what? We are so glad that you enjoyed it. It was an absolute treat to have you out here on the main stage today. Once again, congratulations to you guys. We'll let you go ahead, go celebrate with your team. I'm sure that they're really feeling this victory right now. So it's great to speak to you, Kindred, but we'll make sure to catch you off on the next side.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Always wonderful to get to hear from Kindred. She's such a phenomenal player and always such like a positive influence as well, a positive energy about her that it just feels nice. I just really like her. I'm glad we got to do an interview with her and glad she got to be the one to share how much this experience means to her and what winning feels like. And if you enjoyed the show, if you enjoyed everything that we had here from Calling All Heroes, be sure to support the scene and head on over to callingallheroes.gg to learn more about the program. And hey, maybe you can even sign up to be a player for the next minor or major tournament. You can head on over to start.gg to register for the next major coming up in July. I mean, NYXL Academy are going to be quite far ahead in terms of the circuit points, so you might have a little bit of ground to make up, but better late than never. Better to get in on this tight-knit community and just feel how good it is to compete with some of these other players here. And if you want some more Overwatch action outside of Calling All Heroes, be sure to tune in for Contenders next week, starting back up. I'm looking forward to that. The Tier 2 scene for Overwatch, the path to pro is always fire, always something that you need to support and stay in tune with. That's the next generation of talent right there, and we love to see it. And we're actually going to get to see some of these NYXL Academy players, in fact, the entire team, in Overwatch contenders
I know.
coming up here. So definitely be on the lookout for that in the future.
For sure. If you're an NYXL Academy fan, you don't gotta wait till July. You gotta wait till next week. So make sure that you guys are tuning in onto the Contenders channel for that. But not only do we have the gift of giving you more NYXL Academy, we also are doing a giveaway now on Twitter. We have some Corsair gaming equipment going on. So head over to @loadscreen.gg on Twitter to enter that giveaway. Only 30 minutes left to get your hands on some nice gear coming in. Of course, not only were we lucky enough to be sponsored by Corsair, we also had One Shot Energy here making this broadcast happen. There's so many wonderful people not only playing the game, but we also have the people behind the scenes, the production people, the TOs, the social media managers. It really takes a village to make these things happen. And of course, we want to thank you guys as well, the viewers, to come out to support this wonderful event. It has been awesome to be here. It's been both Tiny Shiny and CB. We look to seeing you guys on the Future Heroes program. Have a great night.